Miss him already.
It's the 27th day of September, 2015, and this is the Radical Agnostic, where ideology goes to die. My name is John. I'm your host. We got Bryan Richter, stowaway guest on mic number 4.
Howdy.
Mark Beef isn't here today, guys. He has a sore throat and a headache or something like that. He doesn't feel good, so he's down in Nogales. He'll be back next week, I'm sure.
Hope you feel better.
Hope you feel better, Mark. We love you. And our guest today, it is my honor to present a good friend, a jiu-jitsu badass, soon to have a degree, and all-around great guy, Federico, the Honey Badger, Castillo.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Glad to be here.
Awesome, dude. Thank you for coming.
The original Honey Badger too. His name predates that chump from LSU.
Yeah, let's get that shit straight, man. Because
for real,
I was a Honey Badger like a year before he even.
Way before.
You were a Honey Badger like right when that video came out.
Yeah, those who know. Because I never saw the video until they were calling you that, and then they're like, "Dude, you haven't seen the video?"
Yeah.
And I watched it. and I'm like, "Yeah, that's perfect."
I still haven't seen the video.
No, it's the best, dude.
Yeah,
it's 5 minutes. You'd be glad that you can't get back.
It's like a voiceover of a badger.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit, dude. It's just the.
You know, it's funny, man, because you know who actually gave me that nickname was Aaron.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Aaron from episode something?
Aaron from episode something,
I think it was 6.
Was it?
It was way back there, dude.
Yeah, it was. That was a good one. Yeah, we know Freddy from jiu-jitsu. Freddy's also a fan of the show. Is that right, Freddy?
Yeah, that's right, man. I caught a couple episodes. You know, I like to listen to it while I get my study on it, you know?
Yeah. What do you like about it? I mean, do you listen to any other podcasts?
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
It's kind of the podcast.
It's kind of the podcast, yeah.
I guess like Adam Carolla has one that's really famous, but...
I can admit that I've never listened to Joe Rogan's podcast either, just excerpts of it.
Well, you know, not everyone has time for 3-hour podcasts like 3 days a week. I do, somehow. But
he does them 3 days a week?
Sometimes 4.
Damn.
Sometimes 5.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure he just gets together with all his friends and just talks, you know?
It's good to be Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not just his friends. He flies in scientists from the UK, and so he has a lot of people. He's like Neil deGrasse Tyson. These are high-profile people.
He had the Aikido guy. That was just... Did you see that one, Freddie?
No, I didn't see that.
He was talking about how...
This guy was like a professor of something, and he had some really interesting insights. It was a good conversation. Then it got to martial arts, and it turns out this guy trains Aikido, which is is it Japanese?
I think it's
martial
Japanese,
art?
Yeah.
And it's like small joint manipulation, basically. Like they'll like grab your hand and twist it in such a way that you'll have to like fall down or give up.
On.
You know, so it's like...
Only it doesn't work. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
Steven Seagal is an Aikido guy. He's always twisting somebody's wrist up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think about like how hard it would be for somebody to grab your wrist and manipulate your hand.
Yeah.
To where they like dude has you like this like.
He's grabbing his finger.
Come on, man.
No, yeah. I mean, I would have already been shooting it for the double, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
that's what Rogan was talking about.
He's
He's like, go against an NCAA wrestler. And he's like, I would step to the side.
Well, they pulled up a video of an Aikido master
going against a Turkish
wrestler. And the wrestler just shot in for a double, took him down, and just smashed him.
And
that was it.
In seconds, he tapped. Then he did an armbar, and Rogan's like, it's not even a good armbar. Like, this isn't even a guy who's good at armbars, and he's armbarring him. So,
and then they did it again, and like 3 times. So they're watching this video in the studio, and the guy's like, oh, well, I just don't believe that Aikido guy is really as good as he says.
Oh, man.
If it was me, I would have stepped out of the way.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh, wow.
That's all you have to do?
Yeah,
really?
all those Olympic wrestlers, man, just shoot them an email because they need this because they've been getting taken down for 100 years, 2,000 years in wrestling, and all they had to do was step out of the way.
Wow, well, who knew it was that simple?
That's what I got into an argument with a guy who
I could have used that as a white belt.
I know, we should probably take this back to the gym.
Take it, dude. Like, get it there quick.
We were talking. Some guy online was talking about Mayweather versus Ronda. Everyone was talking about that in like a street fight or something, and I was just saying, look, she has a big chance of winning that fight.
Right.
I don't know what the percentage is.
He ain't that much bigger than her.
No, he's like 10, 20 pounds bigger. I'm sure he's much stronger, but he's never ever even thought about his legs in his whole career. He has no idea how to stop a takedown.
And what happens if you get thrown and end up on your back?
Then it's over.
Then it's over.
Then
yeah.
she's
Literally
gonna,
over.
she's gonna kick your ass down there.
Definitely.
Yeah, you're not going to get out from Ronda Rousey.
So what are the chances of him knocking her out before she can get close to him?
I've heard he hits like a girl. So.
Well, I doubt that's true. Yeah. He's the greatest, one of the greatest boxers of all time.
Well, does he knock anybody out though? How many knockouts does he have?
Not many.
No, I mean,
a few.
He's the greatest technical boxer.
He is the greatest.
He doesn't
technical
bring
boxer.
a lot of power because it's hard to hit hard when you're backing up.
Yeah, but don't the small guys generally have fewer knockouts, right?
They like to call that the smart way of fighting. Even
though don't get hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it's very boring to watch, it's just.
But it is smart too because you prevent brain damage.
I don't, but people will tell you also that if you watch a guy who's like. I haven't watched a lot of Floyd Mayweather fights because I don't have $80 or whatever it is to pay for him, and I don't really care about boxing.
Right.
But if you watch a guy who's a master of his craft to the point where he dominates with his style, like the other guy just can't do anything with him, I don't find that boring. I think, wow, man, you really got owned. It was like watching Roger Federer play tennis in his prime.
You mean you don't mind these Meow brothers and their approach to jiu-jitsu? Where for all you guys out there, I'm sorry you don't know what we're talking about, but. Jiu-jitsu's grappling. It's kind of like wrestling. And some of these guys, they'll just start the match and they'll sit down. They'll just sit down on the mat and butt scoot towards the opponent so that they don't have to deal with the stand-up.
And the takedown.
And then on the ground, they play this style where they just kind of avoid the typical situations of jiu-jitsu. And they
play a lot of inverted guard.
Right. They rarely submit their opponents and everything because they're not that aggressive
style. Do they rarely submit them? They just always win by points? Because
I see those guys I
see those guys choking people, man.
Actually, I'm pretty sure they go for the submission most of the time.
Take your back, man. I mean, guys barambolo right to your back, and then it's...
they choke you, yeah.
A really good example of that would be Keenan Cornelius in like his earlier fights. When he just got to black belt and the whole butt scooting thing came out before he started implementing his wrestling.
Yeah, and it's hard to say anything bad about him.
Isn't he kind of small for his weight class too, though?
Badass
Keenan,
guy.
Well, he's
190. He's
bottom end of
he's like exactly the same size.
Yeah, he's
as me.
pretty tall, man.
Same height, same weight.
I mean, no, I give all the credit in the world to this dude. He's awesome.
If you're asking me who my favorite jiu-jitsu guy was, it probably is Keenan Cornelius.
Yes,
not me
for sure.
I just think he's fucking awesome. I know there's all these old school guys, but I like his style.
It's great.
I can't go away from Buchecha,
Yeah, well, or Hodger.
Well, everybody likes Buchecha. And John, there's no room on Hodger's nuts with John hanging on both of them.
Yeah.
He's got one nut in guard and the other one like in a fucking choke. There's no room for me on there.
We're going to Britain someday, Paula and I, and we're gonna go to that school that he runs in London.
Oh, that would be
He probably
awesome,
won't
man.
be there. He'll be like doing a seminar in Spain.
But yeah.
Well, man, back to the whole Mayweather thing.
Yeah,
kind of got off of that. If you're asking me, I honestly think that Ronda would take him.
Me too.
I do.
He's got a chance of knocking her out or hurting her so bad that she can't continue with some of his punching as she approaches him.
Right.
And this is the argument I got in with this guy, and he was saying he would just... I go, she's going to do a double leg, and he's never even thought about his legs. He's never done any sprawled in his life. The guy goes, he'll just sprawl. And I go, dude... You can't just sprawl the first time you try.
Yeah, what happens when she turns the corner, bro? What does he do then?
Exactly.
And then he goes. He said something and it was perfect. So he goes, dude, do you even train?
Oh, thank you.
And Paula was
thank
already.
You. Welcome to my world.
Paula was already on it, and she goes, he's a brown belt, and he just got home from practice. This was like 3 months ago when I kind of returned from my back injury for a minute, and. Yeah, and so I didn't even say anything. I just let her say it. And then the guy was like, oh, well, that's surprising because what you're saying is wrong. I'm surprised that you would think that. Okay.
Well, let me ask you.
I've been sprawling double legs for 8 years now.
Did you ask him the question? Do you train, bro?
Well, no, because I knew with certainty that the answer was no.
Well, then what in the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
Then here, to that dude, whoever you are, if you're listening, shut the fuck up.
Oh, man.
Don't talk about shit you don't know about, you fucking fool.
So
it's annoying, and you could get choked for it.
Yeah, dude.
So Freddie, you like the show then? Is it just because we're your friends, or do you think this thing has a chance of being interesting to people?
Well, honestly, man, I think it really does have a chance of being interesting to everyone. Because I mean, for someone like me who doesn't really have time to watch the news or anything like that, listening to your guys' podcast is, I get a lot of information that's going on in real time. You know,
nice.
So it's really cool, man. I mean,
and it tends not to be like a radically one-sided opinion. Or if I give a one-sided opinion, someone else will say, no, that's bullshit.
Exactly. You guys aren't all agreeing on the same thing, which is cool. It brings up, some.
No, well, see, that's the cool thing about having Mark as a co-host, because you'll never get a consensus because Mark doesn't agree with anybody about anything.
Honestly, it is like. I'll admit that in the first few episodes, I was kind of like, Mark. I kind of felt like Mark has a lot of great contributions, but he's kind of like derailing things or just frustrating me. And then I realized, no, he's just disagreeing with me, and I still don't like that, even though I'm more mature than I used to be.
Well, you don't like it, but everybody else out there does.
Yeah.
but I think in a big way, it drives the conversation and it drives the discussion.
Now I see him as absolutely integral to the show, because the theme of radical agnostic, where you have some deeply held belief, but you force yourself to challenge it and step into the other person's shoes.
Well, Beef's going to challenge it.
He's going to do that.
Yeah, it's going to get challenged. So
even on the gay marriage thing, where all of us agreed, my mom mentioned this. Mark made a really good point, which was that he's like, but all of these millions of people grew up just not even imagining gay marriage as even an issue for debate. It was never even possible. In the 50s, anyone who's over 40 even, this just grew up never even thinking about this as a possibility. Mm-hmm. So you kind of got to give some people a little bit of leeway and not just expect them to fall in with the liberal side on gay marriage instantly. So that's radical agnosticism right there. That's us saying, look, gay people have the right to get married, but
give me a while to get used to it.
Yeah, but exactly.
Yeah, he makes a lot of good points. Not just that one.
Yeah, for sure. He's actually put me in a corner and won the battle a couple times as far as my count goes. Yeah. So.
Well, you can't win them all.
So, Freddie, you're 1 year away from your degree.
Yeah. This time next year, I'll have my my IT degree in computer science with a focus on cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity, man, right. It's a brilliant field to get into right now.
Oh, absolutely, man, it's huge.
It's huge, and it's just getting off the ground. Mm-hmm. Like, I did a paper on the Target data breach from 2 years ago, I think, and it was millions of Target customers had all of their credit card information and personal stuff just stolen from Target servers, and they got in just through a phishing scam. Mm-hmm. So there was a third party, like this air conditioning company that does Target's air conditioning, and their employees had access to Target's network, and so that's one of the things in cybersecurity is don't give third-party access to outside the company. Yeah. And so one of these employees, these hackers sent him an email, and it was a phishing scam. It was like, click this link and you'll win $5 or something stupid. And he clicked it, and that was it. Then they had access. They had his password or whatever, and they had access to Target's network. And then they used some pretty sophisticated stuff to infiltrate the point of sale system, right. The credit card machines. Yeah. And then they exported it via some sophisticated methods, and they just had all of that information. So, I mean, it's a huge problem. And then you get even bigger ones. Like a few months ago, we had hackers from China. We don't know if they were in collusion with the government, but hackers from China infiltrated the can't remember which department of the government it was, but it was a defense department, and they got millions and millions of government employees, all of their home address, their credit rating, their criminal history, their where they bank. They got all that information, and these are people that work for the federal government, including soldiers, including bureaucrats, politicians, grunts, office grunts, everyone. And it was tens of millions of individuals' information was taken. Now, when the scary part about that is you think, what is that information used for? Blackmail. So they say on there, look, you had a child pornography charge, but it got thrown out of court because of a technicality or something. Guess what? We're going to tell your wife about that, and we're going to put it in the news. Or you can just give us access to U.S. government security servers. And, blackmail, man, happens all the time. So that's a really scary one. And then a lot of these hacks come from Russia too. So it's interesting what you're learning, man. You're starting to learn the technical aspects of coding and programming and stuff. Like go ahead.
Yeah, it's starting to get pretty interesting. I mean, right now we're getting into more of like the command lines, being able to run text edit scripts and things like that, documents, being able to flow through the interface without actually going through your typical Windows click and find screen.
Right.
This is more like the DOS application where it's just the text. So it is very challenging, but I mean, once I get done, they're always going to need cybersecurity, so it like I said.
Well, everything's online.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
United Healthcare just got hit too.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago. I read a little blurb about it, like all their patients' information was out, and
yeah, I mean, a lot of these companies and organizations, they pay people big money, cybersecurity firms, to protect them, but then they don't pay attention. Like Target had a very sophisticated system. They never would have gotten in if that air conditioning company didn't have third-party access, and they just had it so they could like monitor the temperature in stores at Target. So if something went wrong, they could go fix it.
Yeah, it's funny. One of my teachers last semester really mentioned that a lot of ways to catch a virus on your computer or get your computer broken into is by human error, such as what you were saying when they just clicked on the email.
Right.
I mean, bottom line, if you don't know where that email is, what it is, just delete it.
Yep.
If it's important, I'm sure they'll
I delete so much shit out of my email box.
Yep.
I check it like 3 times a day, and there's always like 8 to 10 fucking things in there to delete. I don't know where these people come from, man.
Yeah. I know, man. It's people. It's like when you went to Radio Shack in '86 and you bought some batteries and they asked for your phone number. Remember how they did that?
Yeah.
They started asking for your phone number, and you're like, why? You're like, no. And then they're like, well, sir, we do it just so that and we won't sell it or anything. And I'm like,
when was this?
This started in the 90s, actually.
They still do
Radio
it some places.
Shack.
They ask you for your zip code or your whatever,
And they were trying to do customer tracking, and you can use that information to boost sales and find out where to build a new store.
Well, that's what they do with all those little like discount cards that you get from Safeway and Fry's or whatever. They're tracking your purchases so they know what people buy at certain stores and they know who buy. I was so paranoid about that as a young man. Like, now people say something to me, they'll be like, oh, because your name comes up on the receipt then. So they'll be like, oh, thank you, Mr. Richards.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
man, you're in the system now.
No, I give them fake names, dude.
Yeah.
I don't even have my own address. I give my old...
thank you, Mr. Tony
That's
Stark.
coming next, dude. My next one I sign up for, I'm fucking Tony Stark. That's how it's going down.
That's funny, man. I had a fake ID when I was 18, so I was Greg Villegas for like 3 years.
It's like your alter ego now.
Yeah,
it's awesome. What up, Greg?
What up, man? No, up until the point where I went to Circle K down the street from his actual house, and the lady was his neighbor. And she was like, "You're not Greg Villegas." I was like, "The fuck I am." That's been me for 22 years.
You argued that it was you?
Yeah, and then I snatched my ID and I just left. It was cool though.
That's awesome.
I told him about it, man, just to make sure like he didn't run into his neighbor.
Oh yeah.
Just tell him he lost his ID or something.
That's awesome. You're not him. Sure shit.
The chances,
fuck, I'm not.
The chances of that happening, man.
Oh man, it was so funny.
But yeah, man, and
Tucson small.
You'd be like, if you really wanted to like not give them your phone number, you'd be like, do I have to buy the batteries? And they'd be like, well, sir, I mean, they'd like dance around it.
Is a battery company?
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm gonna tell you what, dude. You know what friends are for? Give them your buddy's number.
No. Yeah.
Just give them your buddy's number. Man. Somebody you don't like, an ex-girlfriend, man, just throw her number out there.
But these companies have been selling our shit for years, and that's why we get all that spam.
Yeah.
That's where I was going
man,
with that.
You know what I just thought of? Remember that time when I prank called you? With the newspaper dude?
Motherfucker, man.
Tell that story, dude.
Dude, that's what friends are for right there. No, so Bryan had just gave me his number that day. And I forgot what for. I think I was going to get together that weekend for a fight or something like that.
You were coming over for the card game, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, so I was at my dad's house, and we ended up getting kind of drunk over there, my brother-in-law and my girlfriend. So we decided to prank call Bryan because he had that computer voice simulator,
Oh yeah,
where you just click the button and it talks.
It'll read out the text.
Yeah. And so we give Bryan a call, and sure enough, he answers the phone, and the voice goes, "Hey,
what the fuck you call me for, motherfucker? You just called my house. And I'm like, I ain't calling anybody, man. What the fuck you calling me for?
And it was in a robot voice?
No, it was like a regular voice, man. It sounded like a dude. And he was kind of, and he's like, no, don't say no stupid shit. Why the fuck you calling my house? And I'm like, hey, man, you need to fucking chill, bro. Don't call me and raise hell. Like I was starting to get wound up, and then I'm
he was starting to get wound up. He was like, "Fuck you! I'm walking outside. Just fucking get ready." And then there's a button that said, "I'm down the street."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm outside. I'm on the street right now." I'm like, "Cool, I'm fucking coming out, bitch."
You were just using like pre-programmed sentences.
It's amazing how well it works, dude. Because I thought I was talking. Every time I would start talking, this motherfucker would interrupt me and basically tell me to shut up. And I'm like, "Motherfucker, I'm about sick of your ass."
Didn't you say like that Freddie, didn't you say that like I'm down the street like and I'm coming over or something like that?
Yeah, it said I'm down the street, and another one says I'm coming over. And that's when Bryan was outside.
So what'd you do, Bryan? You went outside?
I'm like, fuck you, I'm waiting, dude.
Oh my God.
I hung up the phone, and then he calls me back, and he's just laughing. He's like, dude, that's so funny. I'm like, it's not funny. It is and it ain't. Like, it is now.
Yeah, like some dude, so Bryan goes outside, some dude's walking down the street towards him, and Bryan's gets in a fight with him. That could have been the worst situation.
What's up?
Pulls his gun on him and shit. Like,
what'd you say?
The guy's like, what, man?
Right. You know what's funny, man? Like I was, my buddy called me right after that, and I'm like, this motherfucker just pranked me so good, and he's like, yeah, somebody just got me with it the other day. It was some guy screaming about me taking his newspaper, and he was outside waiting to kick my ass. Program. Like, yeah, you gave me the why the fuck did you call me?
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm out there like standing in the street looking around like, what? And he's like, and I can hear my wife laughing inside the house, and she was doing it to him from a different computer in the house. And then listening to him go off at the guy on the phone. Like,
oh, my God.
Andy's wife did it to him. He's out there on the street ready to destroy somebody.
Oh, she just went up 10 times in my book.
Yeah.
Man. That's hilarious.
She did it to him from across the room. Yeah. How awesome is that?
Man.
You know, it's weird. I should have known, too, because after she did it to him, he did it to me with the newspaper thing. And I was ready to go outside, too. But he broke into the conversation and started laughing and making fun of me. He's like, you out there ready to fight, dude? And I'm like, oh, the fuck did you get on the line? And he's like, I'm playing calling you, dickhead.
Your other buddy did it to you, too?
Andy did the newspaper one
afterwards?
No, before. It was like a year before. He got me.
You fell for it twice.
Yeah. They got me twice with that shit.
I'm
hanging up on everybody from now on. I'm just like, nah, as soon as you start yelling at me, I just hang up.
Anybody that says we're coming over, just hang up.
Yeah, I didn't know it was like, it's recordings of an actual guy's voice.
Yeah. It'll get you.
So
if somebody does it to you, dude.
It hasn't like celebrity voices like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And like,
you'll forget about this conversation. If somebody does it to you, they're going to get you. You're going to be like, what you calling me talking shit? Like,
because it's random, man. I mean, we called him, I think it was like 9:30 at night. Yeah. Like that, you know?
Yeah.
It was.
It was late.
It was. Like, I was doing something. I was like doing homework or something. Like, I was all into it. And I'm like, why are you going to break my zen, man? Why are you going to get into my zen?
We're switching off to politics. And we're going to hit something else very interesting. The Ashley Madison scandal. But we started talking about politics here on the break, and it's just too good, man.
It's just way too good.
Got to do it.
So right now what's happening in the polls is Bernie is surging. He's at 27% of Democratic people are supporting him right now nationally. Hillary's
I don't know shit about politics.
Well, you're about to.
Going to get a quick lesson in the burn.
Yeah. Hillary's down to 40%, so it's a 13-point deficit right now, which is not that bad. Now think about this. Everyone, I talk to a lot of people, very smart people in politics that I debate with. I know a guy, my friend Barnaby from high school. He's a big Hillary supporter. And we were talking the other day, and he was saying, look, we were both kind of agreeing that Bernie can't really win this nomination. Hillary has 100% name recognition. She has like hundreds of endorsements from senators, House of Representatives, governors. And Bernie has 0 government endorsements. No other fellow senators or House guys are endorsing him. That shows you how much of an outsider he's been as the longest-running independent senator in history. But here's the thing. Bernie has all these individual people, like Americans, are supporting him and sending little donations. All of his donations are basically from individuals sending in like $5, and he's made $100 million already. Hillary's got 4 times that, but it's all her individual donations are like 1/5 in number as Bernie's. So what she's getting is giant $10 million donations from corporations like Wells Fargo and all this stuff. So this is a classic case of of populism versus the the weird American electoral system, where you have the electoral college and all these bizarre things that are designed to sort of not let the people elect who they want. So this is a perfect case of that conflict right now, of the weirdness of the American electoral system. Will be supporting Hillary with all these Democratic delegates in each state, and then there's something called a super delegate. I don't even know what all that means. But she's got all this establishment support and the support of the system. But Bernie has the support of people, individuals. That's why when he does a rally, 27,000 people will show up. Hillary will do the same city and 600 people are in the room.
Yeah, but all 600 of them got a lot of money.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting a race in this way. Now, so Barnaby's telling me, and I was agreeing with him, Hillary's 13 points ahead, and she's got all this support. So Bernie just can't win it without the support of all these politicians and stuff. And I agree that that's a huge hurdle for him. However, the polling really can't tell the story, because if you look at the Republican polls, last week you had Trump at 30%. Number 2 was Ben Carson at like 18%. And then 3 was someone else, and Bush was Jeb Bush, who's supposed to be the guy. Everyone predicts he'll be the representative for the Republicans. He's at 9%. So what is that? That's 21% margin between the front runner Trump and Jeb. But we all expect Trump to crash. It's almost a certainty. Every journalist is saying Trump's going to crash. People will get sick of him. There's always some clown at the beginning of the race who gets a lot of support and never ends up winning. And Trump won't win. Like, everyone knows that. So it's very easy to believe on one hand that Jeb will make up a 21-point deficit and beat Trump in the end. But we're skeptical that Bernie can make up a 13-point deficit and beat Hillary. That's my only point, is that it is feasible that Bernie will continue to surge and get this populist movement running, and people will say no to Hillary and establishment politicians in this election. So that's my only message of hope, that he might actually come through.
I think that what Christine and I were talking about is like bouncing off Bernie's statement that even if he got elected, he couldn't change anything. What it would be what it would indicate is a change in the mindset of the voters.
Exactly.
I said, we're not. If somebody like Bernie got elected, you couldn't say we had turned a corner, but we're sitting at the intersection looking at the options now.
Right.
We're not just willing to stay on the road. We're like, well, maybe we need to turn right or left.
Yep.
Maybe we need to get off this track. And so we're here looking at turning the corner. We haven't done it yet, but we're looking at it. It's a guy like that going in, and the popularity of Trump indicates to me that everybody's sick of the status quo.
Exactly.
The Republicans are sick of the status quo, so they're going with this really radical kind of classlessly racist asshole as their leading candidate.
I want to give them credit. They're more sick of it than we are, because Trump had 30%, Carson 20%, and now Fiorina at 10 or something. So what's that added up? 30, 20, 60% of all Republicans are voting for. None of those people are politicians. None of those 3 people have ever held political office. They're all entrepreneurs, or Ben Carson's a doctor.
They're sick of it.
So that's the majority of Republicans are rejecting politicians now.
And my point being, that's what this election is really showing me, or this process is showing me more than anything else.
Exactly.
That the average person is sick of the average politician.
Yep.
We're taking the first steps to saying we don't want it anymore. And I'll tell you, it feels like a dangerous time to me, because if the politicians don't start realizing that the people don't want what they're doing anymore, I think we all know where that leads.
Yes, it does. The people stop voting because they feel like they can't do anything.
Well, and it leads to things like revolution.
Right. And the first step of that is lack of participation. People stop participating.
Or feeling like you are trying to participate, but you're completely fucking disenfranchised, that you can scream at the top of your lungs and no one will hear your voice.
Right, and then you just drop out.
Well, then what options are you left with? That's why it goes to places like revolution, because that's all you're left with. If you try to work within the system and you try to vote the way you want to vote, and it doesn't go that way anyway.
Now the thing is, revolution will never happen here until people are not so comfortable. As long as we have electricity and water and supermarkets, and we're making our pitiful wages, that we get by on, people will keep going. But once their Netflix goes off because they can't pay their internet, and then they start having to shop at or
you can't get any gas.
Yeah. Yeah,
you can't afford gas, so you can't get to
get
your
to
job.
work. Yeah, then you get unrest, and that's why you have, that's partial explanation for why you do have some black riots and stuff. Because if you look at the numbers, black people have suffered. All of us at this table, Freddie's Hispanic, we're white. We suffered from that recession, and we've been suffering for 30 years in terms of wages not going up. Wages for the middle and working class not going up. In fact, if you account for inflation, they're going down. So, but
somewhere between 5% and 9%, depending on what your
yeah.
your financial status is. I was just reading about that the other day.
But trillions of new dollars in money are entering the economy, so they're going somewhere, and we know exactly where they're going, to that 0.1%. They're going to those millionaires and billionaires whose wealth is increasing exponentially, even accounting for inflation. Even so, the point was that it's unrest comes when that socioeconomic status keeps going down. And my other point was that for black people and Hispanics too, that decline in real wages has been much deeper. It's been much worse. So black people who were already doing terribly before the 2008 recession, their income has dropped by something like 30% on average. So they get the shit end of the deal. The people who are not doing well already, it hits them worse.
And I'll just throw in here at the end, although it's a very small population, the Native Americans even worse.
Even
than
worse.
Those two groups.
Yeah, by far.
By far.
They only make up 1% of the country, so no one ever thinks about them.
Right. And they're still the most likely to be killed by police.
That's true.
The
probably
Native Americans?
Yeah.
Really?
By statistics, by numbers, they're the most likely to. They are killed by percentages more than any other ethnic group. And they have probably the worst unemployment rates and the highest rate of poverty, the youngest average death, like the shortest average lifespans.
Yeah,
they have lifespans on the reservations, bro, in South Dakota that are like they are in Somalia.
In their 40s.
Really? In their 40s. That's like the average lifespan for a Lakota male.
42, 45 years old, whereas for a white male, it's 75.
70-something. Yeah.
Hispanics actually 78. Hispanics actually live longer than whites in this country, and black people it's quite low. It's in the 60s, but nothing like that. The Native American numbers.
Oh,
think about that.
What about the Native American? The casino over here, I know they do well, man. They took a bunch of my money.
But
there's
a minority. That's a tiny
portion of the.
I
mean, look at the whole reservation, and that money ain't getting out there. Like that's what your white conservative is going to say. Oh, they got the fucking casinos, they're fine. Oh yeah, okay. So you take everything a person has, you take everything a culture has, take it all away from them, their language, their fucking right to live like they want, and you give them a casino, and it's all good, right?
If you take 100 Indians, 99 of them have never worked at the casino.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They don't get anything out of the deal.
So that's a reason why you will get,
besides on free play,
you will get riots in a black neighborhood and stuff, because that is that situation I'm talking about where you're worrying about food now. You're worrying about feeding your kids or getting them clothes, and there's just unemployment is black male unemployment is in the 50% range.
Damn.
I mean that's worse than some developing countries. So,
And what was it on the Reds? Almost 90%.
90%.
Really?
Almost 90% unemployment on the reservations. It fluctuates between like 80 and 85, but it's steadily there.
And with the police violence numbers, the conservative will say, well, they commit more crimes. Same with, it's true, and it is true. It's true with black people too. But you can't just stop there and say, well, so it's their fault. They're committing crimes, so they get shot by cops. But it does show you that, like, police racism, while I believe it's a problem, I think some liberals make too much of it. I think the cops are out there and they might treat blacks differently than whites on some significant scale, but a lot of it is just that these groups are committing more crimes because they're desperate. Who commits crimes? Who robs a liquor store?
Desperate
You don't
people.
do it for fun.
No.
You don't want to go to jail for felony aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
There's a random crazy guy that
Sure.
maybe does it for
There's
fun.
always that
The
exception,
action junkie, like
Sure.
but he's the rare case.
Yeah.
Most people are doing it because they feel like they have no option.
Right. It's obvious, So now,
in some way, they're desperate, like you said. That word really fits desperation.
The liberal wants to end it there and say, well, there you go. We need to bring those communities up, and then those numbers will go down in crime and police shootings. And they're right. But the conservative says, how do you do that? So say we got a nice, noble conservative here who's arguing. He's saying, I want them to rise up too. And there's plenty of conservatives that would love to see black people doing better.
And I have the solution.
Well, I'll give the main points of this argument.
I really want to hear that.
So the conservative says, yeah, we want them to rise up too, but social welfare actually hurts communities. So the libertarians and stuff, they believe it creates a dependence and it kills your motivation. Ben Carson, he's black. He's saying this right now on the campaign trail. Welfare, even though he grew up on welfare and food stamps, and it helped him become a neurosurgeon. Forget that. So
just had something stuck in my throat.
So that's where the argument stands. It's like everyone who's a decent person wants these communities to do better. The argument is how to do that. Is our social welfare programs going to help, or should we, if you're an ultra-conservative, remove all of those safety nets and motivate them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps by impoverishing them even more? I'm sorry, I'm getting a little biased, but so what's the solution, Brian?
Okay, I have a solution.
Tell us.
No, social welfare. Okay, let's just say I'm going to sit here and agree that social welfare hurts. It creates it creates dependency.
Hypothetically,
yeah. I'll tell you what hurts more. Corporate handouts and corporate greed. You can solve a lot of those problems with unemployment by bringing those jobs, those manufacturing jobs that have been shipped overseas to avoid taxation and to increase profit. You bring them back to America, and then those people have places to go to work. Because you think about it, in America's heyday when we were making a lot of things, Detroit was a fucking boom town. Now it's a ghost town. Now everybody there is in poverty, and Detroit was on the come up. It was like they were vying with Chicago to take Second City honors, and they had Motown there, and it was a place to be. And then they started moving industry out of there, and everybody lost their jobs. And now it's like the poster boy for poverty in America. Flint, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. There's like it's a huge city that used to be one of the hot cities in America, and it's dying.
Now the problem is a lot of people want to go back to the heyday and revitalize the auto industry there. I read an interesting article though that said that's not going to happen. You need a new industry, and here's why. In the 30s, 40s, and 50s, producing cars was a very profitable thing to do. Everyone was buying them, and it was very capital intensive. So you needed a lot of money to be able to start that factory.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so that meant poor countries around the world couldn't get in on that industry. It was too costly to even start.
Right.
So we were dominating the globe in auto sales. And France had some good stuff, and then Japan came up and up and up. And in the 80s, we realized our cars are awful. The quality control was shit. And Japanese cars were lasting for 10 years longer than American cars.
Right.
So they had a more efficient manufacturing process, and that's a whole other story. But we started mimicking them then, and the auto industry went, it was in the grave. It had one foot in the grave in this country. And then that 2008 thing happened, and GM, they were done. And then Obama revitalized them by giving them a lot of money.
Ford, one of the only ones that didn't take any of the money.
But here's the problem.
So you guys out there know, Ford didn't take any money.
Good piece of information. But here's the problem. Now technology has increased. The world has moved on. Cars, it's easy to start a car company. You have them in South Korea. What is there? Hyundai and Kia, wherever that is.
My parents are like wicked loyal to Hyundai.
Yeah.
Weird. My uber American parents, they fucking Hyundai after Hyundai.
Yeah. So it's now developing nation. Not that South Korea is a developing nation. That's a first world country.
Remember when Yugoslavia tried to get in on it with the Yugo?
Yeah, the Yugo. I do remember that.
What a turd. You still got to build something. Yeah, see?
It's just a crappy car.
Yeah, you still got to build something good.
But it was super cheap, right?
Oh, wicked cheap.
You get $4,000,
you get a new one.
Yeah. $4,000. What is it, like a scooter?
Yeah, well, this is back in the 70s anyway. So
it was later than that. 80s or 90s Yugo came out, but they didn't last long.
It was not good. But anyway, the point is, other developing nations can now get into the auto game. So it's no longer something that is profitable to dominate. You can't dominate it. They can make it.
What I'm saying though is there's plenty of things that American companies are making overseas that aren't cars that manufacturing could be brought back to the United States and put our people to work.
But the key is innovation. So America's been doing that for about 100 years.
We're not at the top though in innovation anymore, are we?
Well, I don't know if that's a measure that you can quantify, but I'm sure there have been quantified.
Certainly not at implementation.
Yeah, but well, like I said last night, Silicon Valley, we're making a lot of money in California from doing software and computers and whatever those guys do over there. All those digital startups and like Uber and stuff. I don't know where that's from, but the innovative business ideas like that's the key. You have to lead the world in one of those, and then you rake in profits because other countries can't start it up. They can't start, Yugoslavia can't start up a Silicon Valley where they have Elon Musk's.
Yeah, but
people.
even simpler than that, though, we have things that are going to have to be manufactured because people need them all the time.
That's
so why
point.
not manufacture them here?
Yeah.
Why not make tables and fucking plastics and TVs and fucking keyboards and all the shit that we need every single day? Why not bring that manufacturing back here? Why should all of it say made in China?
Okay, but you're the CEO.
Way cheaper.
You're the CEO. Yeah, exactly. You're the CEO of a company. Well, let's come up with a company. What is it? A hypothetical, just a real one.
WWHBD.
Okay, Honey Badger. What is
What
it?
would Honey
What
Badger
would
do?
Honey Badger do?
So you're the CEO of this stupid company, and your job, as every CEO's job, is to increase your profits from the year before, not keep them steady. You get fired if you keep your profits steady.
Right.
You have to.
It's my company, John. I can do whatever I want.
No, the board of directors will fire your ass.
All right.
So you have one
I'm
year.
the board of the fucking directors.
You have 1 year to increase profits. Now you know that the gadget that you make can be made in Mexico or Korea or something for half the price, and you can keep the same markup on it, and so you your cost of goods sold, COGS is a financial term, it goes down by half, so your profits go up by that same amount. You keep more money. So you're saying, how do you fix that temptation for businesses to do that? Do you make it illegal?
Yeah, you have to. Beef would hate this, but you're gonna have to regulate it. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to take your business overseas and sell your product in America, I've said this before, then put a huge fucking tariff on it. We've done it before. We've put huge tariffs on imports to encourage people to build shit here. So now, buddy, when you take your shit to Vietnam, it ain't the same profit margin because your tariff makes it just as expensive as it would to make it here. So you don't have any incentive to go over there. Now you bring it back, you give Americans jobs, we remove your tariff. And maybe then you do get a tax break.
Now
Maybe then we give you a corporate tax break. You bring all your manufacturing back here. If your company is 100% born, bred, raised, and fucking perpetuated inside the borders of the United States of America, then now we'll give you a corporate tax break because you really actually are pumping up our economy. You really are putting money back in the pockets. Trickle down really is working then. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Well,
and honestly, stop comparing us to these, like, for my, because you mentioned guns at the beginning of this, for my Second Amendment friends, stop comparing us to these countries like Norway and Switzerland who do it right. Stop comparing. We're not doing it right. We don't create the same circumstances that they do, so stop using them as an example because it's a bad example. If we're going to stay over here and screw the pooch and not follow their example, don't compare ourselves to them.
Right.
Don't use it in your argument. Stop posting that dumb shit.
Now, free market people will say that you regulating businesses like this is the worst possible thing because they hate the government. You know, libertarians. This is the worst thing you can do is interfere with the free market.
Got to break some eggs to make an omelet. We're trying to fix a country here.
And you got to oppose the Trans-Pacific Partnership that Obama is trying to
yes.
bulldoze through.
Dude,
I massively oppose the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's like right up there with Keystone XL is worst fucking possible idea.
Yeah.
Bad plan. Scrap it.
What are you going to say?
Huh?
Freddie?
What?
Nothing?
No.
Okay. This relates to the immigration thing too, though, because so you ever hear people say, you know, Americans don't want to pick fruit. They don't want to do those jobs that illegals do, the day laborers are doing, you know, picking fruit all day in a field. Americans don't want to do that. Well, the truth is, Americans don't want to do it for $4 an hour.
Right.
If you paid $15 an hour to do a fruit picking when you're 20 years old, Freddie, or I'm 20 years old,
I would have been picking fruit
Bam.
like a motherfucker.
not now, because
They would have been like, is that guy a cyborg?
Yeah.
Like he can pick peaches like nobody's business.
Yeah, $15 an hour,
I'm all over it, dude.
8 hours a day.
As many peaches as you want to eat.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah,
clear
lunch all day.
I will clear your trees of fruit like a flock of insects,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's over, dude. I will swarm on that
If
shit.
they got a grape farm, man, I'll be
Right.
all over that shit, you know?
So now, if that's the
Stomping
minimum
all
wage,
day.
Stomping on grapes,
that's
making wine.
that's the argument for minimum wage. That then we could give more jobs to our people. But here's the thing: then an apple costs $4 because you're paying your employees $15 an hour. So your profit margins are crap. So you have to raise the price of your peaches or your apples. So that's what would happen if we built a wall, kept every goddamn Mexican out, and then gave those jobs to Americans that supposedly the Mexicans are stealing from us. If we did have some kind of minimum wage at 15, like if Bernie got that through, and we closed that border, then the price of fruit and vegetables would skyrocket. So
like in Japan,
So-
very extremely
right.
expensive.
Yeah,
for
they
fruit.
can't
How much
grow
are they in
anything.
Japan?
for fruits and vegetables. But here's
And
the thing.
meat too, because they have no
Have you ever-
farmland. They have no natural resources in Japan.
Oh, so it's all imported.
So they all import.
For whatever reason, though, so much produce in America gets wasted.
40% of all food purchased ends up in the landfill in this country.
Okay, and like now, I don't know. I've just read the statistics, so I don't know the reasons for that. But what do you know any of them? The reasons that it goes in there?
I think I'm guessing. I have no idea. My
I can
guess.
tell you why.
Why?
Well, every time I buy like a bag of apples, I eat 4 out of the 10. By the time I get to them,
6
they're
go
already
bad.
gone.
So why don't you start buying them in 4s?
Just buy them.
Do they sell 4-pack of apples?
You
Oh,
should
you
buy
buy
it individually.
packs.
Yeah, like a bag. I'm assuming I'm gonna eat them all, but
You can
Yeah,
you
just go
buy
to the produce
individually,
section
man.
and drop
grab
them
a
into
couple
your
apples.
bag, dude. You don't have to
Just
buy.
grab a couple apples.
Freddie's buying like trays of apples or something.
But
no,
I
you have
think
to
it's,
buy a certain amount to get the deal.
Oh.
yeah, I think it's not individual apples though, like individual consumers. I think what we're talking about, the 40% is like industrial waste almost, like from the
I'm
industry.
sure that probably is the big chunk, but I think consumers waste a lot.
Oh yeah,
When
we used to
time
make a
to clean
joke
out the
that
fridge, throw out all the shit we never ate.
bro, we used to
Which
make a
is
joke that
everything
hey,
left
we
in
live
there.
in America where you eat till you're full and you throw the rest away.
Yeah,
Like that's how we live here.
that's not the way to run a world.
But I mean, you gotta admit, like that's how we roll. We
For
eat till we're
sure.
full. We throw the rest away. You want to take that home? Nope.
yeah,
You want a box for that? Nope. Done.
I've become so anal about wasting. Paula makes fun of me all the time. Like I won't. I try not to waste anything, and it's not like an ethical thing. It's just like an anal OCD thing. But she was laughing. We buy recycled paper towels already, but when it's dinner time and everyone needs a napkin with their dinner, I rip one in half and I give her a half and I take a half. How much paper towel? How much surface area do you need?
Well, it depends on what you're eating too. If you're
Right.
eating ribs, you might want to.
You need a whole roll.
You need a whole roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. See if now what my wife does if we do something really messy like that, she brings out the cotton napkins
Yeah.
and then we wash them afterwards.
Yeah.
If we're gonna need something where we
Oh,
have to
okay.
really wipe a lot.
Yeah.
That's what the rest of the world
I'm
does.
going
right?
to tell you, bro. Conservation's a real
I get
thing.
a
Like
shirt.
if you want to conserve, if your mission is to like leave a better place for your kids and for other people's kids, and to like you start thinking about all that stuff. Like I don't want this waste, these landfills filling up. I want a smaller footprint. I want to be a better steward.
So I just love this statistic because it's so mind-blowing. So I'll hit you with it, Freddie. So in America, I wish I knew the actual number here, but if you're to be in the top 1% of all earners in America, you have to make something like $350,000 a year or something like that. A lot of money. You got
to be in the top 1%.
1%, yeah. So, but now that's America. But if you take the world,
Oh, this is crazy.
okay,
This is going to freak you the fuck out.
yeah, you take the whole world economy and how much everyone makes in the world. How much do you think you have to make to be in the top 1% globally? So it's going to be a lower number. It's going to be lower than $350,000 because there's so many poor countries like with billions of people making nothing. So how much do you have to make to be in the top 1% globally?
I'm gonna go ahead and shoot for a number. Say 200,000.
That's what I probably would have said.
You're going to be amazed at what he
Really?
tells you right now.
That's probably what I would have said.
Don't fucking say I'm in the 1% of the global world.
Depends.
So
Depends.
You might be closer than you think.
I'll let you determine that. To be in the top 1%
Hold on.
globally,
Let the anticipation build.
you have to make
Yeah.
$35,000 a year.
Really?
So I don't actually make that much, but I'm close. So like,
Yeah, I'm just shy myself.
to think like we would assume as Americans, as poor-ish Americans, working class Americans, the three of us, none of us are even in the middle class as far as what we make.
Right.
But so we would assume that, okay, yeah, America's richer, so we probably make like more than what half the world makes. Like we'd be in like the 56th percentile. That's what I would have guessed. Like we're in the 60th percentile or something, because we're poor in America, but America's rich. But the insane fact is that we are in the top 2%, basically, at this table. The top 2% in the world. That's not just...
I put that in quick perspective. Working at the hospital, I was making about right around $40 a year, and I quit my job because I hated it, because I didn't feel like I was getting paid what I was worth, and the work was shit.
And
Gotta do what
think
you
of
love.
how much shittier jobs people have. And when I quit that job, I was in the top 1% of earners in the world. When I look at it that way, I feel pretty fucking spoiled and entitled.
I mean, it's literally reasonable to call us, in the global perspective, the super rich. That's because you're in the top 1%. I mean, anyone in the top 20% is considered wealthy,
Like
well off.
go home and look around your house at all the shit that you have, and imagine a person in third world like Bangladesh who doesn't even have a toothbrush. They have a dirt floor.
Yeah.
They live like people lived like 1,000 fucking years ago.
And they got children.
But they're in a modern
growing up.
society with buildings and cars and planes
Yeah, they
flying
see
all
that.
around them.
They get on the
see
internet
all those-
once in a while. They
yeah,
see what
they see
US
all those
is
things,
like, you
but
know?
they don't have it.
Yeah.
They can think of all the things you have, and you're poor in America. That's what
Wow.
poor is being like in America. John's poor as fuck, but he has all this shit.
I get everything I need.
And if you're
Right.
poor, if you take this scale, like the American scale, where the rich make this and John makes this and I make this, and we're poor here, if you take us to another country, we're fucking well off.
Depending on which country, we're in the super rich. The super rich. So we are super rich in global terms. That just blows my mind, man. And so someone like my mom or my dad, who are successful professionals, they must be in the 0.1%. And they're not, none of my family is like, well,
Right.
except my uncle is rich,
Right.
millionaires and stuff.
But by global standards.
But by global standards, they're in the 0.1. So I don't know, man. I think we need to think about the global perspective more and more to get things figured out, man. I don't know. It just blows my mind, 1%, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It doesn't even seem real. Like
What'd you say the number was? 35,000?
35,000.
35? Damn.
Well, I read this whole article about that, and it's like if you have a roof over your head, you're better off than like 60% of people or something. They were crazy
Yeah.
numbers. Like if you have more than $2,000 in the bank, you have more than 99% of the world. Like,
let's because this show is actually about guns, as you've all noticed.
Oh, God.
Every week. So let's just now that you, Bryan, you and I have gotten more closer to a consensus than ever, and everyone's
I think we have it solved. I
Yeah.
know what the violence problem is. It's not a gun problem. It's a violence problem, and the violence is related to desperation and socioeconomics. And if you don't believe that, because that's new to me. I never thought of it that way. And if you don't believe that, just do the research that I did. It won't take you long. It took me about half a day to put that all together. That like the places where violence is worse,
So you're
the socioeconomics are worst.
Are you acknowledging? I'm not sure that the presence of guns in a terrible socioeconomic place would have an effect of increasing violence compared to if there were no guns.
Well,
like
but the statistics I came up with,
like in India, if you gave a gun to every homeless person in India, there's like 800 million of them. What would happen? Do you think that?
Well, I think their capacity to do violence would increase, but I think you see a lot of violence in that population that's not gun related, but it's still violence.
Definitely.
So, and then you look at places like Honduras, where there's supposedly not a lot of private gun ownership, but there is a lot of poverty, and there's still a lot of gun violence.
Right.
So, I mean, even if it's not available, it's still happening.
Yeah.
They're still getting them one way or another. Which, with all that poverty and the fact that there's not a lot of personal ownership allowed, but people still have them, that would seem to indicate that black market theory is not really great either. They're still getting them.
That would be a good point.
So, But I think the more you see it, but then you go to, like I say, the Second Amendment guys will be like, Norway, 86% of people own guns. There's almost no gun violence. Yeah, there's almost no poverty either.
Really, almost none.
Yeah, like everybody's taken care of.
Some
it's
of those
all
cities,
good.
some of those cities have a 0% homeless rate.
Yeah, they're all educated because they get free education. They all got housing. They've all got food.
Healthcare.
They've all got health care. They don't want for anything. They're not desperate people.
And the crazy scruffy guy who just could never hold a job, but can sort of doesn't belong in a mental institution. They always exist. And in Norway, the government gives you an apartment.
They'll just
really?
Yeah, dude.
keep you off the streets. They'll make sure that you have what you need. And you know what? They don't have crime.
Yeah.
They just don't have crime.
Because everybody's all taken care of.
Everybody's
Yeah.
taken care of. Nobody's desperate. Your fucking basic human needs are being met. You don't have to act out.
And the part of the reason for this is they have a big government which rakes in massive revenues from taxation.
Yeah,
so
they
rich
pay like
people,
60% taxes, and rich people are heavily taxed. But you get all your services for free. I'm not even sure they're getting water bills.
Yeah.
They're getting taxed to hell, but they don't get that stuff doesn't affect
they
them.
don't have to pay for medical shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and
You don't have to pay health
healthcare,
insurance.
yeah.
You don't have to. You don't have to pay to send your kids to school. You don't.
So,
like,
but if you make like $200,000 a year there, you'll probably take home, $50,000 in cash, so that the government will take all of that money from you. But the whole
they don't have roads that you need a fucking 4-wheel drive to get down
Yeah.
there, dude. If you have a paved road, it's taken care of.
The-
There's no trash in the streets. Like they're
Yeah.
squared away.
The free market people say if you tax businesses and rich people, they'll just leave. So it doesn't work.
So then we
Well-
tax you more
well,
to
they're-
bring your shit back
Well,
in.
Norway isn't empty. They didn't all leave. They still have all business people, and it didn't hold true. They
Yeah.
get taxed up the ass, and they don't leave. They don't run away.
Yeah. And
so-
they have a low unemployment rate.
Yep.
Like it's people have jobs. They get to do their thing. They get to live.
So
They're not always worried.
What's their minimum wage over there?
I have no
You know?
idea, honestly.
15.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
But, like, all those-
16,
all
some
those-
of
How
them
much of the
12,
fruit?
some
Do
of
you know
them
how much the fruit is?
probably. Well, I know everything is extremely expensive. So
Probably
to give the other side, yeah, I mean a beer in Copenhagen is like $14.
But look at the results, though. Look at the
beer
look
a
at the
baseball
rate.
game's 11.
Yeah, true.
You know, so-
But this is just at a bar, dude. Like,
Oh yeah,
so
during happy hour.
prices are very high, man. Yeah. So
But all the other, like the societal statistics,
Yeah,
the way
the-
people get along,
yeah.
the quality of living, all those places, the quality of living ranks higher than it does here.
Mhm.
Except in certain enclaves of America. Like you got, Vail, Aspen, Colorado. You got a
Well,
great quality of living, but then you're dealing
Connecticut.
with rich people.
Yeah.
You know, I,
People
thi-
got
I
a lot
think
of
free
money.
healthcare would definitely make you pretty happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian in particular.
Yeah.
Jesus. I can't tell you how much money I would have saved if I didn't have to
They
do
would
co-pays.
they would repeal it just because of you, because of how much of their resources you were taking up.
Literally,
for free.
man, I can't, like, when I'm at a job applying for short-term disability, I got rejected like 5 years in a row at the hospital. I've had so many surgeries and just medical,
Well,
like, break and stuff that nobody will give me short-term disability.
yeah, I don't know if this applies, but Obamacare, one of the big laws that brought through is that health insurance companies can't deny you insurance because of pre-existing conditions.
No, not
Right.
like overall insurance, but they can deny me like that protection insurance, like
Oh.
the short-term disability. I can't get that.
Yeah.
I get you get long-term disability, like they have to give it to you if you get hurt
Yeah.
and then you can't work forever. You can get long-term disability, but the short-term stuff is like a gap insurance, and I can't get it.
So His Eminence, Pope Francis, has arrived in the United States. This is his last day. And he went to Washington and talked to the president. And
This was the gun thing,
Right.
This okay,
Right.
all right.
And anyway, you've all been seeing the news. So he's running around and doing his thing. And
In
of
his
course,
cool Jeep.
yeah, in his he has a Fiat. Is his like personal car, like a $40,000 car. It used to be like a $900,000 Mercedes armored vehicle, and he just was like, "Nah, I'll just take this car." And he doesn't live in the palace that all popes live in. He lives in this apartment in the Vatican, little apartment, little kitchen, like this one probably, but maybe a
Wow.
little nicer. But so he's a really interesting guy, and he spoke in front of Congress, and so the political controversy started, because on one hand he talks a lot about climate change, how we have to do that. We have to fix that. He talks about income inequality, and he talks about a lot of other liberal values. And then at the same time, of course, the Catholic Church is against gay marriage, and it's
Birth
against
control.
abortion
Yeah.
and birth control. Now, my point to that was just, I kind of give them a pass on that because they're not a government, right? So the Vatican the Catholic Church isn't a government. Catholic Church can't make a law that gay people can't get married. Mm-hmm. So to me, they're like a private business who won't make a cake for gay people or something. And I think we came to the conclusion on this show that we're all kind of on the conservative side on that the government shouldn't force businesses necessarily to serve clients that they don't want to.
I totally agree on that.
On the other hand, you had civil rights in the early 60s. Still, black people couldn't go in a restaurant, but things have changed so much that how many businesses would put a sign that says "No blacks" on their door?
No, because you're going to lose mad because you're not just losing black business. If I see that sign on your door, I'm not coming in.
No, and it'll be all over the internet.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a fucking picture of it. Right. I'm not coming in.
And that's the action of popular opinion that the internet has enabled. So we're kind of agreed that.
But I think most of these denials right now in that fashion are based on a lifestyle choice and not a race. They're based on that
sexual
lifestyle
orientation,
what they consider to be a lifestyle.
Right.
So, and like we've talked too, if you don't want to make me a cake, I don't give a shit. There's another cake maker right there. I'll go give him my money.
If
it's
the
all
Catholic
good.
Church won't marry us, we'll get our certificate from Kim Davis, and we'll
go get married somewhere else.
We'll get married somewhere else.
I guarantee you, somebody in Las Vegas will marry you, fellas. Just fly on in.
I guarantee drive through, literally.
Yeah, drive through. Yeah. You can be done. You
get the Elvis package.
Yep.
So
could be at the blackjack tables right away.
And the abortion thing, I posted a really good quote from Joe Biden, and basically what he was saying is that in my personal life, I'm morally opposed to abortion. I think it's wrong, but I have no right to legislate that value on other people. So I'm pro-choice. I support the legal right to have an abortion, even though I think abortion is morally wrong. And that is a great nuanced view, in my opinion. Because I don't think pro-life people or pro-choice people are crazy or stupid or evil. I think they all have a valid point, and I get both sides. Where I land on the left because I don't think people have different moral opinions about that. So no one should legislate what you can't do. So it should be legal to have an abortion, and that's compatible with people who are morally opposed to abortion. So the same thing with the church. I don't denounce Pope Francis because he leads an organization that's against abortion and against gay marriage, because that's just their moral view. That's Catholicism. So deal with it, or don't be a Catholic.
Yeah, sure. You don't have to be a Catholic. You never have to set foot in a Catholic church. It's my policy.
Yeah, and it might change someday. They might reverse that, or they might let women be priests or something, and that'll be interesting. But for now, that's how it is. So the gun thing, Pope Francis made one brief comment in an off-the-cuff speech in which he mentioned guns, and it's been completely misinterpreted, I think, on the right in the Second Amendment community, because there's every article you read is saying Pope Francis condemns arms manufacturers and says they can't be Christians if you're a gun manufacturer,
or if you support the gun industry.
If you invest in it. So what all these articles were saying was what Bryan just said. They said he's against arms manufacturers. We know that. He said they're hypocrites. They're not really Christians. And then the articles were all saying, and he also attacked, gun owners by saying that if you support the gun industry, you're not a Christian. Well, that is plainly false. He did not do that. And it took me a while, but I finally found the quote of what he actually said.
Yeah, and we talked about this last night. I didn't get too far into that because I couldn't find an actual transcript of the speech. I just found people talking about it. And although the one guy, the Colion Noir from the NRA guy, he's usually fairly reasonable. And when he posted it, he said, look, this is the take I get on what he said. He's like, if I'm wrong, like somebody come tell me I'm wrong and why I'm wrong. I'm flexible on this, but it just sounds to me like he's telling me I can't be a Christian. So I didn't get too deep into it because I couldn't actually find what he said. I couldn't find an actual
transcript.
I looked for it. I really did. I'd read the one that you had, but we talked about it last night, so now I don't. Yeah. I don't have to, but I'd look for it and couldn't find it.
Freddie hasn't heard any of this, I don't think. So it'll be good to bounce it off of you. So we'll read the quote, and you can say what you think he means. Because to me, it's clear. So Pope Francis is saying, he's talking about hypocrites, and he says, it makes me think of something. People, leaders, entrepreneurs that call themselves Christians, and they produce arms. They manufacture weapons and bombs and guns. He goes, this gives some mistrust to me. They call themselves Christians, and they say, no, Father, I don't produce guns. No, I only have... Now he's talking about investors in those industries. I don't produce guns. I only have my savings, my investments in arms factories. And Pope Francis says, and why? And he's back in the voice of the hypocrite. Because the interest is somewhat higher. In other words, investors are
You get more of a payback.
Yeah, so investors are saying, hey, no, I'm a Christian. I don't make guns and bombs. I'm not an arms manufacturer. I invest financially in them because I get a good return.
So they're making money off them.
Right.
They reap the rewards of war.
Exactly.
Basically.
And so Pope Francis says, and a double face is also a current coin today. It's an awkward translation from Spanish. But to say something and do another, that's hypocrisy. And that's the quote. That's all he's ever said about guns. Nothing in there has anything to do with personal gun owners or people who buy guns. Now, if he's saying that weapons manufacturers are kind of evil, which I kind of agree with, and if you look at what these companies do, they lobby for war in Congress so that it's a huge payday if a war starts. I mean, it's insane. They foster rumors about Obama's coming to get your guns, and that boosts sales through the roof.
And drives prices up.
Yeah, exactly. And then, or there's an ammo shortage or whatever, so people start buying up all the ammo.
Which drives prices
Who's
up.
the gun salesman of the
Obama's
decade?
the best gun salesman in history.
In terms of sales going up during his administration.
They talk about this, how like Obama's trying to take your guns. More guns have been sold during Obama's term than probably like both Bushes combined.
Yeah.
And all just because of all that talk.
Yeah. Fear.
Yeah.
Because he's a Democrat, so conservatives start saying, they write these crazy emails where Jade Helm, they're taking over Texas, and he's coming to, the government's buying up 1 billion bullets. It's like, yeah, they'll spend that.
Yeah, we're at war.
They'll fire those in a week.
We're in two different theaters of war. We're in Iraq and Afghanistan. Why wouldn't the government need 1 billion bullets?
Yeah.
We got soldiers out there that have empty magazines. Let's fill them up.
So to me, these manufacturers are very shady. And by the way, they definitely and unabashedly sell these weapons to our enemies, our military enemies. That's capitalism. It's a business deal. That happens all the time. So even if you're a conservative, I think you should be...
A lot of our enemies are supplied by the Russians and other people. The
certainly.
French, the Germans.
We're not the only...
The French and the Germans, the Belgians, they pitch in supplying these dudes.
We are the largest arms exporter in the world, but those other countries have a big chunk too.
Well, while they're selling them rifles, we're selling them fucking planes and tanks and vehicles and stuff that really will fuck you up.
Yeah. So I think anyone has to at least be ethically, nervous about arms manufacturers, right? Like, you're a Second Amendment guy, Bryan. You're at least uncomfortable with those companies, right? Or not?
Well, I know that the guys in charge, to me, that's an ethics question.
Yeah.
I know it's a comic book, but I always think about Tony Stark. He has that. I'm wearing my Stark Industries shirt today, by the way, supporting weapons manufacturers.
Good.
How he has that awakening and comes around from the weapons I make are being used against good people, and I can't do it anymore.
Right.
So it now I see where you're coming from.
So
I get the ethics. It's an ethics question to me. They're like, are you ethical? Are you going to sell? You're going to knowingly sell weapons to jihadis, knowing they might come back and attack our guys with them or attack innocent people with them just because you make a profit and because you probably think it will never happen to you.
And lobbying for war. I mean, how evil is that? Lobbying for the war because it will profit your company.
While you do backdoor tricks and shit to get your own kids out of it because you know how fucked up it is and you don't want anybody that you're dealing with to have to go fight that shit.
Right.
But you're fine because we got all these poor people we can sweep from their ranks to go fight this war.
It's all about money.
So... in my analogy it's like factory farming, the way they produce, if you buy beef or chicken at the store.
Can I throw something in here before I forget real quick? For all the conservative guys that are going to say that the Vatican owns stock in Beretta, if you find proof of that, please send it in because I really, really looked because I was going to talk trash about it. and I didn't talk trash about it because I couldn't find any evidence of it. It's really not true. It's not true. They don't own the Vatican Bank does not own stock in Beretta.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if they did. Because,
it wouldn't me either because they've done
so corrupt.
Yeah, they're under indictment right now. A lot of guys who run that bank for embezzlement, for shady backdoor deals, for money laundering.
And Pope Francis is cleaning house, but it's taking a long time.
But I can't find any evidence that they own stock in Beretta.
Right.
Now, they do have a 134-man private army that's armed with assault rifles and highly trained. They're all Swiss. There's all these weird qualifications. So it's weird to hear a dude talk about gun control that's surrounded by a private army, but I get where he's coming from.
Well, he's not talking about gun control, though. That's the thing.
Okay, so he's talking about the evil of weapons manufacturers, but then, he's got a cellar full of fucking weapons. They got an arsenal down there.
Right, and who did you buy them from,
Right, weapons manufacturers.
Here's the thing, though. My analogy is it's like factory farming. So if you get meat at a grocery store, even vegetables, the way that stuff is produced is horrible. The animals, the cows and stuff, they live in this concrete thing, and then they just shoot them up with weird drugs, and they chop their head off. And same with chickens, they cut their beaks off and everything, and they pack them into these places. So that's where all your meat comes from at the supermarket. So unless you go to like a farmer's market and get grass-fed or free range, and even some of that is not good.
Not what it says. Not what you would think it is.
Yeah.
Free range or cage-free eggs doesn't mean what you think it means.
Yeah. And even the way we farm vegetables, there's a lot of horrible things to the environment about
factory farming.
So the analogy is we all kind of, if you read about that stuff, you know that it's bad. But we go to the supermarket.
It still tastes good.
And we buy that stuff, So that's the analogy. Pope Francis, the arms industry is like factory farming. And then owning a gun is like going to the store and getting a little thing of chicken or whatever. So, yes, there's an ethical...
That's the most innocent you've ever made owning a gun sound, John.
Yeah, and I
sounded really nice.
It did, didn't it? It's like having I got lettuce.
Yeah,
and an M4.
There you go. You've brought me over, man. So it's like, there's an ethical question. That's why I stopped eating meat mostly, was because I wanted to participate less in that.
My meat consumption is down more all the time. I don't do pork.
Yeah, I don't do that at all now. So it's the same thing. Like, yes, what Pope Francis is saying brings an ethical question to personal gun ownership. But he did not say anything explicitly about those people.
No, not in that quote for sure.
That's his only quote on it. Guaranteed.
To me, again, he's talking about big money guys.
Yeah, and he's So it's correct to then take what he said and then think about your own behavior and what what companies you're financing by buying stuff from them. But he did not say that gun owners are not Christian. He never said that, and he never would, because it would be insane. It would be billions of people would not be Christians anymore under his new rule. So he doesn't think that. He didn't say that,
and they'd be freaked out because he let the atheists in the door.
Right.
You can be a good person and go to heaven without being Catholic, but not if you got a gun.
Yeah,
they'd be like, wait, what? So the non-believers get in, but I'm fucking kicked out.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to say.
Now it's starting to sound hokey, ain't it, fellas? At that point, I think then it would start to sound hokey.
So that's what I wanted to say about Pope Francis, is that he didn't condemn the ownership of guns, but he brought up the ethical question, which is a real question. I mean, if the company you buy stuff from...
Well, if you reap the rewards of war, are you a good person?
Right.
Like if you're like, war, yes, profits going up. Like, man, that kind of, to me, honestly, makes you a bad guy. There's your good guys are getting killed over something they don't need to get killed over so that you can make more money. It's fucked up, man. You're living foul.
Makes sense.
So, what else is going on? The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Boehner, he resigned. He resigned because there's so many extreme Republican Tea Party people now in Congress that they hate him. He's like a normal, moderate Republican, and they want to do things like shut down Planned Parenthood, stop funding it, or they'll shut down the government. So this thing that they did 2 years ago where they did this government shutdown and thousands of jobs were lost, tons of income was lost from taxation because the government wasn't operating for like 2 weeks.
I think they should call that treason.
It's not governance.
They're not governing.
They're not doing their job. They're saying, give me what I want or we'll shut the nation down.
It's treason, if you ask me. It's fucking treason.
And he won't go along with that anymore. He was humiliated the last time he did it. And so he's quitting because these people have so much power. So there's a big struggle within the Republican Party right now. And
yeah, he's probably going to be replaced with somebody more radical than him.
Yeah, probably. So I don't know where that's going to go, man.
I like that he led by example, though. Just step down. You're doing a poor job. Most of you are. Just step down. Go away.
Yeah.
Like, just be a good person for 1 minute and realize that you're part of the problem and go away.
Yeah.
Out of the 535 congressmen, I bet at least 500 of you can say that if you look honestly in the mirror. I'm corrupt. I'm awful. I'm fucking the country up. I need to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know it, too. None of you are listening, but you know it.
Man, 769 people at this Hajj pilgrimage in Mecca.
I keep going to those posts just to read the comments.
Yeah,
What
right-wing
posts
news.
do you read, man? I gotta tell you, like, you guys sound like the news. You know what I mean? Like, I learned so much.
Well, I just go to the news and pull these
listen
articles
to you
up.
guys' show, listen to you guys talk. You know,
Just go to Google News, and they aggregate articles from all the news stations. So you just flip through that.
Or
Just
like
go through,
make
like, the
Yahoo
headline
your
stories and
homepage,
shit.
and you can pick like what news stories you want coming up. Like you can get science, politics, all this.
Because I'm just wondering, I'm like, how the
I
fuck
just
do you
get
guys,
most
like,
of
Google
mine
this
through,
shit? You know, like, how do you even know what to
I
look
honestly
for?
get most of mine through Facebook sites that I see a story and then I link to it, and then I look for other stories because I don't like to just get a one-sided.
Well, like Freddie, you don't have a lot of Facebook friends that post these articles and stuff. Like you're friends with me. Do you ever see my rants and everything? Or do you just go scroll past them because it's boring?
No. I mean, I do listen to your rants. I mean, I'm not gonna say your rants. I do listen to your, you know, what you write and stuff like that. But to be honest, man, I'm really simple. You know, I go to work, I do school, I do homework, I do jiu-jitsu, you know.
But I got to tell you though, like the people, and it's
for
not a knock on you, but the people that are creating the status quo that's keeping things the way they are, they're counting on you to be like that. They're counting on you not to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're counting on us to
my
stay
dad tells me all the time, man, about what's going on and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just don't have time to like look it up, you know.
Yeah. Well, I envy you in that way, man. And you live a balanced life, and you're a happy guy. So
yeah, I can't say that. I can't say that I'm a happy guy. So maybe I shouldn't know all this stuff.
I'm watching him talk over here. See him turning red, man.
Yeah. Oh, he's in a good mood today.
Yeah, I'm feeling fine, man. I'm all right today. You missed the shows where I'm fired up.
Yeah.
Because I've been there when we like don't talk about the fur trade or get me started on
some of the Muslim type topics.
Yeah, well, this is one, you know,
Yeah.
the Hajj stampede.
Yeah.
I was reading about this yesterday, though. This isn't like like people get trampled in these things fairly frequently, just not to this level.
Yeah.
So what happens that the word, it kind of sounds funny, dude. A Hajj stampede. I mean that like it's such. Is that what they called it? Because that's what they call it on all the right-wing sites, a Hajj stampede.
No,
guys are making so many funny jokes about that.
Yeah.
Those two words, but how does it get started?
It's called the Hajj pilgrimage. So
right.
That's what it's called. So it's perfectly fine to say that. But
I mean, it's like a big target for those conservative guys. A Hajj stampede, like the way they play off that.
We talked about it last week or the week before when like this crane collapsed on the Grand Mosque and killed like 100 people.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Okay. Triple digits.
And then this Facebook thing this right-wing news site is called right-wing news.
I read it. I do.
It's just, I mean, it's like evil, you know. And so they post the story about the crane collapsing and killing all these men, women, and children. And they're just comment after comment of, wish the body count was higher. Serves them right. That's what you get for 9/11, bitches. Even guys that we know from jiu-jitsu actually wrote stuff like, ha ha. You know, it's like all these people are dead and dismembered and families are broken and you're laughing. Like, I know it's at a distance. I get that people are, and they're not really that evil maybe, but it really fucking hit me, man, how evil that was. To say those things, ha ha, serves you right. These people weren't involved in 9/11. I think that's evident to everybody.
So they're not on the list of 19 hijackers.
No,
they're not. They weren't on the list.
That's pretty crazy, man. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, being happy over somebody's death. You know? I mean, it's just,
you know, I mean,
and it's not technically your enemy. It's not
No.
like there was a battle and we they're like, well, we killed
Yeah.
110 of the enemy and our guys got out fairly unscathed. Like, it's not.
No.
You can celebrate that as a country, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Winning a battle, yeah. But
humans have been celebrating winning battles since the beginning of time.
So you saw them post this article too? Because I can't.
Yeah,
go over
I've
there
read a
anymore.
couple more, and then I'm like,
You were just
I feel
laughing
like
at them?
posting that one of the guy sitting there drinking the soda with his eyes wide open, like, I'm just here to read the comments, because like that's why I'm there, just to see what fucked up things people will say, and to look for that one liberal dude
Yeah.
that gets in on that thread, and then
Yeah.
it's like 546 replies, and I'm like, that's the one I'm looking for.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I want to see what's going on
Yeah.
there, but.
This
Yeah,
is
it's-
769 people. I mean,
have you seen any of the videos?
No, I can't.
Seven-
Like
watch
of them
this.
just
769.
walking through it's carnage, dude.
Yeah.
Where
It
was
looks
this
like Godzilla came down the street. That's what it looks like.
In Mecca,
It was a pilgrimage to Mecca. It was in Mecca, I think, or it was on the pilgrimage to Mecca. I'm not sure
Mecca's
what city
in
it was,
Iran, right? Or is it in Saudi Arabia?
dude.
Let me
Don't-
get my Google Maps.
Don't ask me, bro. I
I
don't want to
feel
seem
so
stupid.
ashamed
I don't feel real
that I
stupid
don't.
on the show often because you don't corner me with geography.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I feel.
But I think it
like
was
an
on the
idiot.
pilgrimage to Mecca. I'm almost positive that's what I read.
The Hajj pilgrimage, Riyadh. Yeah, I don't know, man. So, but Iranians are blaming Saudi Arabia for it, and
And it was just
So
what,
is
just-
it in Iran? Were they in Iran?
It's
then?
got to be. I'm looking it up, but it's in Saudi Arabia. Mecca is, but I just have to make sure now. And because only like 100 and something Iranians were killed in the stampede, so I'm guessing that couldn't have been in Iran.
Right. There probably would have been a few more. Because there's a lot of Iranians in Iran.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that too.
Again, we're in agreement. It doesn't happen much at this
It's
table.
consensus, baby. Mecca is a city in Hijaz in Saudi Arabia. Okay. So that's all we need to know about Mecca. It's in
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia. So
If it's
anyway,
Saudi Arabia, I'm never going there.
Didn't I say Saudi Arabia when you guys were asking?
I think he did.
I'm pretty sure.
Go
well,
for it.
I might have mumbled it.
I don't remember that, Freddie.
we go back to the tape.
So anyway, I don't know much about that story, but it sucks, and I don't know. Moving on.
That is pretty messed up.
We got a few minutes out of that. France has entered the coalition war against ISIS, and they have French warplanes totally destroyed an Islamic State camp in Syria yesterday. So they threw in some of their fancy planes, and they just went apeshit on a camp, an ISIS camp. So that's cool that they're getting involved.
The French army's involved in is it Algeria where they're throwing down
I
to?
believe
they're
that's
like
true.
in a hard fight there. Like,
Yeah, it's the tail end of their colonialization, period where the French
in Africa,
Empire,
yeah, it's
yeah.
finally crumbling.
French armed forces had previously bombed militant targets in neighboring Iraq as part of a U.S.-led coalition, but France had not attacked the group in Syria out of fear that doing so would indirectly prop up the government of President Bashar Assad. So the president of Syria, Assad, is guilty of using chemical
he's
weapons.
the rock, and ISIS is the hard place.
Exactly.
That's what that is.
He's guilty of using chemical weapons, which are internationally illegal across the board, on
Right.
his own citizens for
Yeah.
protesting or rebelling against him. So Obama 2 years ago was trying to get us to all, if we remember this, to start an air war in Syria to stop that guy from killing his own people. And the people didn't want it, and it failed in Congress, and no one voted for it, so we didn't go to war with Syria. And then a year later, we learned about ISIS, and that there's this terrorist group that's in Syria trying to topple that same government that we were going to topple. So the enemy of our enemy is our
we
friend?
funded
Yeah.
and supplied. Because they're like, these 105 millimeter howitzers were left behind. My buddy's like, you think you could just walk up to a 105 millimeter howitzer and fire it? You got to have some training.
Yeah.
He's like, where the fuck do you think they got that training?
You look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, where do you think they got trained on how to use these advanced United States weapons?
Self-learners.
Yeah, not. That's oddly, that's not how it works. Like, if you're going to get in that conflict, it is clearly an enemy of my enemy is my friend thing.
ISIS being the enemy.
Or like whatever side you're going to take, then that's what you're saying. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Now it seems, yeah. But
it seems like ISIS ain't really making any fucking friends. Like, nobody want them around.
No, but they still recruit, and they have a lot of money. You know, they robbed the Iraqi central bank like a year ago. And they stole $400 million.
Dang.
That's a big heist.
Yeah, and if you read a lot of news that I read, man, Jesus, these guys are the rapiest fucking people in the world.
Yep. Young boys a lot, too. They rape the young boys is what I mean.
Well, they're straight up the rapiest, like across the board. They're just like going across the country, killing, beheading, raping.
What else we got? 9,000-year-old decapitated skull found under amputated hands. Ooh. The oldest known case of ritual beheading.
Somebody was a bad boy.
Under limestone slabs in a cave in Brazil, scientists made a ghoulish new discovery. A decapitated skull covered in amputated hands.
I'm happy to say I found this story.
You did?
Yeah.
These 9,000-year-old bones may be evidence of the oldest known case of ritual beheading in the New World, raising new questions as to how this grisly practice began in the Americas. Decapitation was likely common in the New World. For example, in South America, heads of defeated enemies were often used as war trophies. The Arara people in Brazilian Amazon used skulls of defeated enemies as musical instruments. It's kind of making hay. Right?
Yeah.
Making hay while the sun is shining. Isn't that
awesome, dude? Check out this guy's
lemonade.
Check out this guy's drum set, bro. Like, holy shit!
Sure,
we might have wandered into the wrong village.
I mean, sure, it's made of heads, but
but listen to this sound.
But listen to the acoustics. Where do you think he got the big heads for those bass drums?
Yeah, if you live there and your buddy like knocks on your head. Don't
stab him in the neck right now. Stab him in the neck right now.
He's testing the acoustics.
Yeah. He's thinking. They see you, John, and they're like, "Oh my God! I finally got my bass drum."
Pay dirt.
Oh man!
Holy shit!
That's some sick
heads.
comedy right there.
It was just one body, right? Though it wasn't like they found a bunch of them. It wasn't like a mass.
No, just one.
No.
So wonder what it meant to them. Who knows? 9,000 years ago. So that's.
It was just one. It sounds like punishment, man. Like, because I know the Aztecs did a lot of like ritual sacrifice and stuff, but don't you find like mass graves? Didn't they find like mass graves there of sacrifices? And
well, I don't know
not
what
real
they
keen
did
on my Aztec history. I haven't made it that far south yet on my study of the indigenous.
What they did with the bodies, because they would take them up the pyramid, and then the main guy usually, or one of the priests would just cut off heads, and when they did like 10,000 in a day. So this was like a conveyor belt, and the guy would get tired literally, and they'd have to bring in a new guy to cut off the heads. I mean, you get tired after like 20 heads, man. I mean, it's not easy. You know, whatever you're doing, swinging an axe or whatever. And a lot of these were women and male captives of war.
It was a big deal for the Aztecs to capture people. Prisoners were more valuable than like kills.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
And you became like a. They really valued the jaguar. You were like a jaguar knight or an eagle knight, like depending on how many people you had captured. That's how you got promoted within the Aztec ranks.
A lot of the Mayan and the Aztec empires and stuff. Pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah, I saw Apocalypto.
Yeah. And when the Spanish came, man, they were just as horrible.
They got worse.
Not worse, but, if you're Cortez and you see them doing this on the pyramid, you're like, oh, all bets are off. I don't care about these people. Like, if I have to kill them all to get gold, let's do it. I mean, he probably would have done it anyway. They ran into a lot of nice, peaceful tribes along the way in the islands that they first visited, and they killed all those guys too. So it's not like Cortez was rational about it.
Yeah, it's not like any of those guys were nice.
Yeah,
they weren't. None of them were good people.
But
none of those initial explorers of the Americas.
They were, Cortez himself was more an upper class guy. Of course, the captain would be, but the guys on the ships, man, these Spanish soldiers, man, they were just poor people that signed up for this horrible boat trip 3 months to get to this place that no one even is sure exists, the New World, so they just get on a boat and go, and life was just awful for them, and they were indebted. A lot of that those soldiers, it was a debt thing. So you would be indebted to a bank in Spain, and they'd enlist you basically to to fight in one of these.
So you're trying to pillage enough to buy yourself out
Right.
of debt when you get back, and I don't care if I got to step on some half-naked dude in the Central American jungle.
And these Indians, man, they had never seen a domesticated horse, or maybe never seen a horse at all. So when these Spanish came up riding horses with plate armor on, these Indians thought that they were half man, half horse. They had never seen such a thing.
Oh, okay.
Because they're riding the horse, you know. So, that scared the crap out of them. And then when the cannons went off, you'd have thousands of them would run away. But then they kind of got used to it a little, and there were a few battles where the Spanish were outnumbered, 20-1, and the Spanish just slaughtered them with their muskets and their cannon.
Technology.
Eventually, the guys would just run away. I mean, they'd be like, these are gods. Our arrows bounce off of them. These are gods. We can't do this. But they fought. They still fought, though, which is the crazy thing. But anyway, what else do we got? That's it. What else do you guys want to talk about? Oh, the Ashley Madison thing?
Have we done it before? I don't think we've talked about Ashley Madison.
Yeah, so Ashley Madison is a website where the point of it is married people go there to contact other married people and have affairs. So
I always thought, like, when I heard people mention Ashley Madison until the scandal broke, I always thought it was like a shopping site or something, like Lane Bryan, or I just thought it was something. I really did. I'm like,
JC Penney.
Yeah,
Ashley so
Madison
it's like a Tinder site for married people,
right? For cheating and
for cheating.
So someone hacked
Chinder.
Someone hacked that company, and they got like 20 million names.
Oh.
You were asking where can you find the names? There's a complete list on Pirate Bay. You can download a torrent.
They released
list.
the whole thing?
It's on a torrent. You can download it at Pirate Bay. I found it when you were asking about it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, people come here to... Not me, because I never do this, steal music. I've never downloaded any from that site.
Supposedly, if you had a Pirate Bay downloader, supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly you could get music there.
I wouldn't.
And I also saw through my research that you could find that complete Ashley Madison list.
Awesome. And...
Check
so
iTunes.
if you might know, your husband might be on there,
yeah,
and your wife might be on there.
Yeah. So, for example, that guy that there was that show, 19 Kids and Counting, and
right? Josh Duggar.
Family's last name was Duggar.
He had 19 kids.
The father and the mother did. Yeah,
oh, man.
Yeah. She was just pregnant forever,
all the time,
always.
Forever.
Yeah. So. And they were this. It was a reality show on TV, and they were the spokespeople for conservative Christianity, family values. Gay people are horrible. Black people, we're not sure about. And
and then it turns out old Josh is molesting his siblings and cheating on his wife.
The second oldest,
the dad,
or the oldest child.
The oldest child.
The oldest child is now in his 30s or something. Mm-hmm. Turns out that he molested 4 or 5 of his sisters. Some of them were 4 and 5 years old when he did it.
Wow.
And the family found out, and it was never released to the press. No one ever found out. They hushed it up, and they didn't send him to any counseling or anything. They just had him. They had a cop who was a friend who they told this to, and he was like, "All right, well, Josh can come up to my ranch. I'm rebuilding my ranch up in Colorado.
We'll work it out of him.
Yeah, we'll work it out. So he'll come up and do some manual labor, and that'll be his punishment or his therapy for molesting babies.
A cop doesn't do his dispensed civic duty
right.
and arrest the guy. He brings him up to work for free labor at his ranch.
Right.
Seems legit. Carry on.
So that was a huge scandal a few months ago. And then this Ashley Madison hack happens, and his name is on there.
Not only that, that porn girl came out and said that he used to come and pay her for sex, and that it was rough and frightening.
Oh.
For a porn girl to tell you that it's rough, frightening sex, she said he was really demeaning to her, like what he would say, and he was physically rough with her, and that she broke it off because she was scared of him.
Now, do you think that has something to do with how they grew up? You know what I mean? Or is that just something that maybe...
Their whole point is if you grow up with these Christian values in Jesus, you won't become gay or perverted or all this perversion is because of secular culture. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the exact opposite has happened in their family. So exactly what you just said, that extremely conservative religious discipline. So, I don't know if I can blame it. It
spawned a sexual
deviant, but it certainly did spawn.
If you're saying that that's what would keep us away from it, then
right.
in this case, it spawned a sexual deviant.
Right. Now, of course, he's sticking to his guns, Josh, who's married and has little kids of his own now. it was a child molester.
Your wife is obviously spineless.
Yeah,
spineless,
Just dumb as shit.
and of course he sticks to his guns by saying, well, yeah, I did all this stuff, but it's because I'm addicted to pornography. So pornography did it. So they're supporting their own Christian thing against pornography
Every
by blaming
every male
it
at
on
some
that.
point,
that
every male
loophole.
at some point has been addicted to pornography. We don't rape little girls.
Right.
Yeah, no shit, man.
Yeah. Seriously. So
Just type in whatever the fuck you
Yeah.
want.
Makes me want to wear a watch more porn shirt.
yeah.
Watch more porn.
So wrong, man. It's just so wrong.
Hey, did you ever
Can we cut that out?
No.
No, that's live, bro. That's live. Did you ever see that Christy Mack thing where she said
War Machine beat the fuck out of her. I know that.
Yeah, fuck. Well, besides that shit, he's still in jail, isn't he?
He should be.
Yeah,
He's a
he should be,
psycho.
right?
He's gone
I
He
don't
for
tried
a
to
while,
fucking kill that girl.
That was like his third strike or some shit like that.
Yeah,
right?
and he
he
tried
ran-
to kill that girl. He kidnapped her. He fucking terrorized her. He tortured
And
her.
he fled from the law.
Yeah, he's a
too.
fucking asshole.
Yeah, dude.
I never liked that guy.
She did that thing. It was on Facebook. Whoever built the best domino something, remember? Because you shared it. She'll give them a blowjob.
This was way back,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah, remember that, dude?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think I
yeah.
made a joke about it too. I'm like, getting out my dominoes. Like, here we go.
No, out of Legos, because she said she loved Legos.
Oh,
She's like, I'm a whore that just loves Legos.
There you go.
Jeez
Fucking
Louise.
Lego
You know,
prices
she's
went
a
up. I
pretty
should've
girl
invested.
too. Actually, she's really pretty, man. She's got a lot of tattoos, but she's a pretty
she's
girl.
young too, right?
He fucked her up, dude. Did you see the pictures of her afterwards?
Yeah, dude. She had like
she was
3
beat
eyes.
to shit, running through the neighborhood naked and bloody, knocking on doors, trying to
No,
get
she just
somebody
ran
to
to the neighbor. She like jumped a fence or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
but the first couple houses she went to wouldn't let her in.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It was like 3 or 4 houses before somebody decided to help her.
So
Oh,
what
fucking
this story
pieces
is
of shit.
is there was a UFC fighter called War Machine, and he was
John Copenhaver is
Yeah.
his name.
and
awesome fighter. Awesome fighter.
great fighter, and
Yeah, he
or
got
a
bounced
good
out of the
fighter.
UFC because he couldn't win, but
Yeah.
other than that,
He had some potential. He just didn't work.
He had a horrible life and childhood, and really like as bad as it can get. And actually, he was on Joe Rogan,
Mm-hmm.
did a whole interview with him, and it
One of
was
his good friends.
very interesting stuff. And then this happened, and
It's unfortunate.
It's just horrible. But so I don't know, Brian. You have, I mean, what do you think about this Ashley Madison thing to begin with? This surreptitious cheating website. Plus,
it makes me mad, man. So I know there's at least 35 million people that were on that have no honor.
right.
You have no honor. You can't keep your promises. You can't keep your word to the person that you supposedly decided to share your life with.
So I was talking last night about what happens when men meet or even just talk to women that aren't their wife or whatever, attractive woman. Even just talking to them, your testosterone goes up a little bit. So you, like flirting and stuff will make you feel like energized and feel good. In other words, you get a physiological response.
Okay.
And then like actually cheating or having sex with a new woman.
Mm-hmm.
And this applies to a lot of women too, with new men. You get like a total surge of testosterone, and it really goes crazy. And so that's why all these midlife crisis guys have been married for 20 years
Because they get that adrenaline
they
rush.
get that rush, and they think, "Wow, I haven't felt like this since I was 20."
Right.
And then they get divorced and they marry the new lady, and then 2 years later, the exact same situation is in play. So there's a natural drive, especially among men, but also in women, for sexual novelty. So in other words, a new, different girl or a different guy each time, and that's one of the things that pornography delivers almost too well, because then you can get addicted to pornography, and you have a new.
It's like
New-
a vicarious sex life. You're living
Right.
it like third party.
Yeah. So, and it's just, I guess what we're talking about here is just cheating and stuff. And like, I think about that, and you get attracted to people all the time, and you get
Sure.
temptations and stuff. But
People get prettier every day.
yeah,
Yep.
but it would never be worth it for 5 minutes of a great time to
5 minutes.
John, work on your
Jesus,
stamina,
come
buddy.
on.
these
They're doing some
You're
sprints.
beating the Kinsey survey by
these
3
mi-
minutes, but you're giving up weak sauce.
these midnight affairs are quick or slapdash things usually. I think.
You know,
Well, but some of them aren't. Dude.
Okay.
Like they're ongoing for years
Yeah,
and years
yeah,
and
yeah.
years. I have a dear friend that was involved with a married person for years and years, and and that person knows how I feel about it, so we don't talk about it much about married people. But I put that put that more on the married person than I do on the single
cheater.
person, because the single person didn't make a commitment to your wife. You fucking did.
Right.
It's still kind of messed up, but not as much.
Yeah, I mean, you know it. Like it was against my rules of single living. Like I had some rules that kept me pretty safe.
Don't
like no
mess with
neighbors, no coworkers, no
Married.
other people's husbands, wives, or boyfriends, girlfriends. Like you just, because that shit, one, could get you killed, but two, it's just like you're contributing to angst and strife and wrecking. You don't know if there's kids involved. And like, fuck, man.
So however many minutes it is, it's that is never worth the fucking betrayal and the just ruining that friendship that you had with your spouse. Like, assuming you have a good relationship, I think all three of us have a good relationship, and it's like just that heartbreak that you would impose on that person. Like, I'm never going to let my physical body, make me do something of that magnitude.
It's going to hurt her like that, man.
It's
like,
just going to crush her.
Yeah.
I've been married for 20. It'll be 21 years this year.
And you might stay together too, but it's never the same. They never look at you the same, man. They're like, oh, you did that to me? Like,
different person.
Yeah.
You ever heard that saying, the grass is greener on the other side?
Exactly.
Well, you got to think of it as the grass is greener wherever you water it. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome, dude.
I mean, like...
Yeah, it sounds like you ain't taking care of your grass, homie. If it's
yeah.
greener on the other side of the fence, man, maybe ask him what he's doing different from you.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, relationships are tough, man. There's always going to be those ups and downs and all that, but, I mean, you always got to go back to that foundation of the friendship.
Yes, that's
and like you said, if you betray that foundation of the friendship, all of a sudden you're not looked at the same. You're not looked at as that friend that you were. You grew up to be somebody completely different. You know what I mean?
Now,
it's funny that you say that, because I think of my wife as my friend first.
Yeah,
she's my best friend.
They have to be, man.
Like
Me too, yeah.
If you said you can only hang out with one person for the rest of your life, it's a fucking no-brainer for me.
I mean, think of it.
You got to be able to watch TV and make fun of stuff and read a book
and joke around
next to them and have all the funny little crap that you do, play pranks on each other. That's got to be there.
And all the annoying stuff that they do, it doesn't bother you anymore.
Or it does, but like Paula's dad had a great quote. He's like, "You marry the person whose faults you can live with." And I like
that's
that.
True.
Man.
That's true to a degree.
It's typical kind of cynical style for him, but it's also typical for him because it's smart and wise.
Well, and it's hard to argue that. It's true, man. Like, when you're not compatible with somebody, it's because they do too much shit that annoys you. Like, it doesn't take the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get enough reciprocal out of this for the annoyance.
But man, like you know if you're getting enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're happy.
You absolutely do.
But so, like, Christine used to have this theory, like, humans, we're not built to be monogamous. We're not like wolves. We're not like parrots.
There's a lot of evidence for that too. In the apes.
So then, what isn't this whole marriage thing like counter to human culture?
It's tough. It's a tough call, man. Because
so and this is what I think about the Ashley Madison thing. Somehow, cheating in America, and maybe worldwide, I don't know, is kind of accepted and condoned. It's like not a bad thing. Okay, like it's you hear songs like fucking all these rappers are always talking about, I hit her friend, I did, like, I'm fucking started at OPP. Like, it's almost it's okay to cheat.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It does reflect poorly on you when you find out, and I think for the mass culture too. Like, if there was a TV show and the guy cheated, everyone in the audience would hate him for it.
Yeah, but those audiences are like, there's a certain type of people coming to that show because they're expecting a certain type of thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying like 98% of the country would feel that way if they saw that.
Well, not 98%, because 35 million's there's 350 million of us, so 35 million's about 10%?
But that's there's hypocrites too, bro. There's people that think cheating is wrong.
Okay, well, I'm talking when we're
here,
here at this table, I'm only dealing with those of us who are going to be honest with ourselves and everybody else.
Right.
Exactly.
So 35, there's not 98%, because 35 million of you are fucking cheating.
Good.
So chances are that if there's 100 people in that audience, about three and a half of you motherfuckers are sucking somebody's dick that's not your husband, or you're fucking somebody who's not your wife. So they're probably the three sitting on their hands like, oh shit, man, this guy's fucked,
getting nervous.
And that's crazy, man. Like, why wouldn't you just break up with somebody? Like, you just want to go.
Well, and what's weird? That's not your only option,
it.
because I know a married couple whose counselor advised them to try out polyamory instead.
What's polyamory?
Swinging. wife swapping, voyeurism, exhibitionism.
Yeah. See,
In other words, condoned, not cheating, but condoned extramarital relationships.
And if you bring that up, I guarantee you're going to get more sour faces and finger pointing than you will bringing up cheating. Somehow those people are immoral and fucked up, but a cheater's okay.
Yeah.
But like, there's a big difference though.
So
They're doing it together, consensually. They're not behind each other's backs, stabbing each other in the backs. And while cheaters are tearing down trust, these people may in fact be building it.
It's a tough call, man.
It is.
Some people that just doesn't work.
I get why
for.
it's not for everyone.
Now the question might be, is it not
But
for them?
why is that so demonized? Like these
Yeah.
people, the Christian Coalition just goes after any club they have like this, a safe environment for people like that to meet. They go after them. They try to shut it down. They shut down websites. It's discouraged everywhere. It's universally thought of as, you people are weird, you're fucked up, you're sick. But you know what? Their marriage is working. They're not cheating on each other.
Yeah.
They're still getting play outside. Like if it truly is like good to do it with other people, if like that's enriching, and are we making too big of a deal of sex?
Right.
Is it that big of a deal, or is it just two people? Cause
hey man, anything you do with permission of your spouse is better morally than cheating behind their back. Period. All day long.
Right. But you always got to think about it as to how would you feel if she did what you did to her. You know what I mean?
Well, as far as cheating goes,
I mean, for me personally, I wouldn't be cool with the whole like her like consensual swinging thing. That's just me, man.
Right, but are you guys out cheating on each other?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not.
So
you're
you're
just
go.
having sex with just each other. But what I'm saying is, you want to have sex with other people, and you automatically go outside your marriage. How do you know that your spouse doesn't feel the same way? But they're just like honoring their commitment.
Oh, so you're saying like talk about it?
Because you think, think like, do you think that your girlfriend walks down the street and she never sees another fucking dude where she's like, that guy's fucking hot?
Oh, dude, I'm ugly as fuck, man. I know.
Well, that's not what I hear, Fred.
Exactly true.
That's not what I hear. Every time my wife talks about you, she's like, "Oh, Freddie, he's fucking hot." And I'm like, "Yeah," and his chest is allergic to cotton. It's Freddie though. Like it's
You're doing all right, Freddie.
Yeah, you're doing
thanks,
fine,
man. I
bro.
appreciate
you get a little play because like when your picture goes up, I posted a couple on Facebook, and I've got messages like my girlfriends that are single. They're like, "Who's that? Got a boyfriend? Where's he at? Do you think he likes fat girls?" Like, I don't know. Are those his real abs? I'm like, yes, they are.
So
And
one question that comes up though is for people who it doesn't work for.
They weren't going to work out anyway because they were already like, I'm talking about if your option is cheating.
But you made that point. I'm just saying for the good relationships where they talk about polyamory and they're both like, I don't really want to do that. Mm-hmm. Is that just because of insecurity or some negative thing, or is there a noble way to be against polyamory?
Like think about it, right? Think about this. You and your girlfriend, you're like, I'm thinking about cheating. Like I don't want to cheat on her, but I want to tell her like I'm looking at other girls, like I'm having doubts, like how do we get through this? Like what do I do? You got to help me, right? Mm-hmm. What if she comes back and says, well, it's not just you, like everybody thinks about that. I think about it too. Like I see other guys and I'm like, boy, I bet that would be fun, or that guy's really hot. So you guys talk about it, but you both decide like, wouldn't there be insecurities in that? Like what if this happens and they like each other better, or what if it like we do this couples thing and then I like that person better, and I'm like, oh
yeah, so that would be a good reason not to do it.
But here's the thing, you didn't cheat, you fucking communicated with your spouse,
right?
And you're like, I'm thinking about looking at other people, what do we do? Like, is this because I remember some friends of mine, they lived different places, they were in a long-term committed relationship, and the one of them, they had keys to each other's house. The one of them woke up middle of the night, decided, man, I miss him, I'm just going over there. And she went to his house and she caught him with somebody else. And she was fucking all upset, and she was talking to Christine, and I heard her saying, she's like, I don't know why he didn't just fucking talk to me. I would have been down to do stuff.
Yeah.
Like if he would have just talked to me and said, I'm looking at other girls, she said, like, I would have been open to doing some crazy things if he would have just talked to me. He didn't have to go behind my back. Yeah. And that's the first time it ever occurred to me, like, wow, how many times is cheating a communication problem? Because attraction's a hard thing to solve, bro. Especially if it gets made available. It's a hard thing to solve. And like you said, the testosterone, it fucks with your decision-making process. Yep. It really does. It really does, man.
Yep. That's a good point.
So, but you communicate instead of do it.
Yeah.
And then if you can make a decision whether you want to do it or not.
Yeah.
As a couple. And I would say like 99% of people, that ain't going to work either. If you guys are always looking around at other people, maybe you just need to take a look at making what you guys do a little more exciting in whatever way, a little more spontaneous. Like, because people get into routines.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to come home from work. I'm going to feed the dogs. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the laundry. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to work out. I'm going to take a shower. And we're going to have sex sometime between 9 and 11 right before we go to bed.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just come home and somebody's doing dishes.
Yeah.
And you walk up behind them, or they walk up behind you and grab something, and then something happens, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you bang out a little quickie, but it just happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's more spontaneous, you know?
Yeah, the routine can be very...
Yeah.
And then when you have
get
kids,
a handy in the traffic jam, something just make it spontaneous. Kids hurt that a lot.
Mess it up so bad. But it's just like...
And I've talked to a lot of couples. They're like, you guys are so fucking happy. And I'm telling them, I'm like, you guys got 3 kids, man. Like, we have all time to work out our own shit.
Yeah.
The only problems that Christine and I deal with are our shit.
We should get into the philosophical debate called natalism versus antinatalism. And the antinatalists are people who say that it's ethically wrong to have children. And we don't have to do it today, but
humanity fucking dies.
No shit.
Yeah. But they're pessimists. You know?
So they're like, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they say that the main reason why it's ethically wrong, a lot of times they'll make the argument that life is more suffering than happiness. So you're introducing this person into a life of suffering. That's very debatable. Their best point is that it's non-consensual. So there's no consent of a person to be born. So you're just forcing a life into the world, and you don't do that with anything else.
To me, that is liberalism gone so far awry that it should be stepped on like a fucking cockroach.
Well, this came before any of that. This isn't a liberal thing, but it
but
does
the
fit
consent's
into
a big thing with liberals, though. This whole consent thing,
rape
a
and
baby
everything.
consenting to be born.
Well,
Holy fuck, we're lucky we don't have to agree to that. Because think of how hard a bear's life is. Like, if nobody would come out for that,
right? But they're not saying, if we could only get the consent of the baby, then because it's absurd,
right?
But they're saying that. So the whole process for humans who have developed minds, that it's an ethical violation to do it at all, because no person can consent to being born,
and because life is more suffering than joy,
right? So you're hurting.
I have a hard time arguing that with the pessimist, that life is more suffering than joy.
And the great image that Schopenhauer brings up to demonstrate that life is in fact more suffering than joy, he says, take for example 2 animals.
And one getting eaten.
One eating the other. So one of the animals is getting joy through a meal, and maybe the thrill of the chase or whatever. If it's a cat.
But is that one meal equal to the fucking agony of being eaten alive? No.
So you measure up those.
The joy of that meal compared to the despair and the horror of getting eaten alive, they don't.
In fact, they
don't add up.
The joy of that meal lasts the duration of the meal.
Yeah,
then
and maybe till your belly's not full,
Yeah.
and then you're looking for another thing to eat alive,
right?
To cause the most horrible suffering something could have,
right?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't equal up.
Now, my friend Ryan has some kind of argument that he's developed as to why that image isn't quite fair.
I read his argument, but I didn't think it held a lot of water.
Yeah,
not compared to getting eaten. That example's so powerful to me that it's.
Oh, that was another guy. Yeah, he was. That guy's a Christian guy. Really liberal, like open-minded Christian. But he didn't. And that's what Schopenhauer said. He goes, if you want to feel good, he goes, go to the priest or go to the professor. He goes, their whole job is built on making optimistic little theories that make you feel good. He goes, if you want the truth, go to a philosopher.
Yeah.
So,
and get your tissues, because it's probably a sad truth.
Yeah. So that's that interesting thing. We can debate it sometime when Mark's here. He'll probably have to scream about something interesting.
So back to the Ashley Madison thing, though. Why do you think it's so prevalent? Is it because we make sex a taboo thing to talk about still? Is it because it's dark and scary? And
it's got to be part of that. But it also has to be how we form our relationships in this culture. So don't be
the value
fooled.
we place on them, maybe?
Yeah. Don't be fooled. I mean, the history of humanity, marriages and relationships have not always looked like they do in America in 2015. Things were very different in a million different ways in a million different cultures. One thing I've noticed is that, the country has liberalized extremely since the 50s, for example. And marriage, people they get married later, and they get divorced more now. And so what you have though instead is this dating thing. So like all the old terminology about dating, it was like going steady, or it was like she's my girl or whatever, and it was dating. It's like, oh, I'll go out with this person once a week for several weeks and we're getting to know each other. But it didn't mean that you didn't go out with other people, because marriage was the thing. Marriage was we're talking about the 50s in America. Marriage was the inviolable sanctity bond. Once you did that, you never look at anyone else. But while you're dating, you haven't done that yet. You didn't go to the church yet and make the vows. So in my estimation of it anyway, people would date more. Now, I may be wrong. This might just be my life and my personal circle, but with what I notice is that people don't get married nearly as much, and they wait longer. But instead, they have these relationships, like the one I'm in, and I've been in ones before that, where you live with the person, and you're their girlfriend or you're their boyfriend. But cheating in that situation is just as bad as it was back in the day with marriage. Like once you live with a person and stuff, they're your girlfriend.
You made that commitment.
Yeah, if you cheat, you're a cheater. Like you did something really bad, like we were just talking about. Like Freddie and I aren't married, but we're in long-term relationships.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm actually just moving in next week.
Are you?
Yeah, so
congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations and good luck, dude.
It's fun.
Like,
it's fun living together.
Just stay friends. That's all. Like the shit that she does that annoys you, do your best to get over it. And try to temper the shit that you do that annoys her. And it's easy to live.
Man.
It's fun too.
Yeah,
it's fun waking up.
Your friend's always with you. Every day I wake up, I see my best friend laying right next to me. It's the coolest fucking thing.
You lose some, independent things, and there's annoyances about it for sure. But
you don't. If you're in love, dude, you don't end up missing all that.
Yeah,
the stuff that you lose, it doesn't matter at all. You're like, I don't even like that anymore.
But this, I'm quite sure this is true, that this phenomenon of living, shacking up, they used to call it, is much more prevalent now. But
means a lot more.
We haven't really liberalized, because what the standards of marriage are now the standards of dating. Like, so you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Once that's your girlfriend, you're not allowed to go out with other girls in most cases. So I find that odd. Like we gave up on marriage because people aren't as religious and they're not as traditional, but we naturally mimic
and
it
maybe because
in our dating. We mimic marriage now.
Well, maybe because people have a negative stigma applied to it. Like
to what? Marriage?
To marriage. Like 50% divorce rate.
Yeah.
So like it's
like just a title.
And it becomes
like, why get the state and why get the government involved in my affairs? Now this woman can sue me if we get a divorce for half my stuff.
Right. and it adds a lot of animosity to breakups because it becomes super contentious.
You have to hire lawyers.
Yeah.
And it might be, this happens all the time. There's an amicable breakup, divorce, and then the lawyers get involved. And the lawyer tells the woman, he goes, she goes, I don't want to take anything. I'll just take the car that I bought and the flower pot and the bed or something. And the lawyer will be like, well, he's probably talking to his lawyer right now, and he might try to get that car and stuff. So you at least need a foundational case here where you make a claim. So it's nothing against your husband, but let's just draw out a list of things here that you would like. And because the lawyer, as much money as that woman gets,
he gets a cut.
He gets 10% or 30%.
He gets a cut. Yeah,
30% is what lawyers usually get from any settlement that they succeeded in. So that's how it happens. Both sides, the lawyers start doing that to raise their revenue, and then the couple gets into this horrible.
Well, plus now it's a legal issue. If you and Paula decide to break up, one of you moves out, you figure out the lease.
Yeah.
We're fucking done.
Yeah,
it's a bigger issue in marriage. There's tax things, like we got a fucking mortgage. Like you have to legally get it gone.
Yeah.
So you do have to go through something. Now, there's a lot of sites that let you do it on your own, and I think that has led to more amicable.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like amicable divorces. You can file the paperwork on your own. They have like a paralegal that helps you figure out your own papers, and you kind of represent yourself, and you can get divorced on your own. But it's.
I'm open to the idea of marriage for myself personally, and if it was going to be anyone, it would be Paula. So, but I don't know. People ask me, they say, like, same with kids, like, why don't you want kids, or why don't you want to get married? And I always feel awkward with that question. It's like, I don't need a reason why not to do something. I need a reason why I should do it. So give me the reason why I should have kids or should get married. I really view it in that abstract way. It's not that there's something about my relationship or that it's not quite good enough to get married or have kids. It's not that. It's that I don't have a reason. I'm not religious, so that part isn't there. I don't. There are some legal benefits to marriage and stuff, but nothing that matters to me. You know. So
I couldn't tell you what they are.
Yeah, it's something about you could visit them in the hospital or this or that. They could unplug your life support.
Right.
But it's like. So you see where I'm going with this? I want a reason to get married, and there are none forthcoming. Like some people say, well, it shows your commitment and stuff. Like, all right, I get that, but we could.
Well, that's what it was for me. I just wanted her to know that this is the way I'm going to tell you. Like you're the one.
A
for
vow,
me.
making
you're the
vow.
one for me. I'm.
Now a vow makes sense to me. A vow is meaningful to me, very much so. But I feel like I've already made. The vow I haven't made the vow, to be with her forever. That's usually one of them in the marriage, but of course not to betray her, not to cheat on her, not to hurt her. I've made those vows either explicitly or implicitly.
Like
she has
to me, marriage was almost a way of like telling the whole world, like that's my girl,
right.
like I'm all proud of it,
and
like,
that makes sense.
It's like a legal way to say fuck yeah.
And honestly, if you think about it, it's really the girl's day. You know what I mean? It's really her day to be in front of her family and her friends, and have
the dress.
That's a good
dress.
The
and
dress,
have the dude that she wants to be with forever.
That's a good
saying
point.
all kinds of good stuff about her, and
and I know it's a big deal because Christine's not super sentimental. We still have that wedding dress, dude.
Yeah,
we've thrown away so much shit in the
That's
21 years we've been married, and that dress is still hanging in there.
That's what it usually does come down to. It's like, do it for her is usually the argument, because she wants it, because it's a value among women, and so
to be able to have that ring that shows the commitment from the dude, regardless.
We had never talked about it before I asked her. It never come up once. We never talked about it once.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
So I get it. I'm not staking a position here, but
no, I'm with you. Like
with
the reason
with
the kids thing, the reason to have kids. I've had so many people tell me like, "Why don't you guys have kids?"
Yeah.
Like, you should have kids. Why should I have kids?
Tell me why. First.
You know what their answer was to me?
Like, even if I'm just totally rational,
you know what everybody's answer was to me?
Open-minded. I'm like, tell me why. Like, I need to
know
why.
I can tell you what they're going to tell you. What every single fucking one of them told me, because you guys would be great parents.
That's
you know what I said to the last. You know what I said to the
parent.
last person? I said I'm fucking hell at jacking off too, but I don't want to fucking devote my life to it. I'm hell at it.
Exactly.
I can finish super quick, man. Let's have a race. But it doesn't mean that's what I want to do.
Right.
I'm fucking selfish. I want to live. We have things that we want to do, and having kids makes it to where we can't do any of
So
them.
another thing they'll tell you, which I'm sure is 100% true, is that you'll feel this love and this bond that you've never felt before. And I'm like, cool. But this is, to me, it's just like with seafood, actually. So I don't eat seafood ever. And it's just, the smell's bad to me and everything. But I know there's so many kinds of seafood that there are kinds that I would like.
Yeah.
I know it. So people are like, dude, if you admit that you might like it, why not try it? And my whole thing is,
you can't give it back.
Well, there's so much other stuff that I like right now. Why make an experiment?
That's kind of what it is. It's that I don't want to like it. I don't want to like something new in the food category because just this is personal to me. I don't really care about food. It's not one of the developed senses of mine. So it's
Christine and I laugh about that all the time. About you and food.
I eat like a 6-year-old. I eat like my nephew Dave.
You do eat like a toddler.
Yeah. Although I eat a lot of healthy stuff now, but I make it into a shake and just choke it down. But that's the thing is like I know that I would like it. But there's some areas of my life where I don't want to like anything anymore. And sometimes because liking something carries a weight with it. So with kids, it's the best example of that. Of course I would love them. I wouldn't be some asshole who hates children or something. I'm not like that. I really like being around kids, actually. I don't want to feel that love. It would, because it would overshadow so many other things. And it might decrease my relationship with the female, because that happens sometimes.
See,
the wife kind of gives up on the dude right after the kids are born. She's just like not interested in him anymore.
Dude, I can't wait to have some kids, man. Bunch of little honey badgers running around, dude. I think it's gonna be cool, man.
So, but you don't. And that there's a good point too. That like, but wanting them too, you don't really need a reason. I mean, right?
No,
like, you don't have a reason. You just it's a natural inclination.
Yeah, I want a family.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
to me, that's kind of an animal instinct. The people who don't
Definitely.
people who are like, I don't want kids, they've put reason into it. They're not following their instincts.
There's nothing wrong with that. You know
No.
what I mean? If you don't want a kid, you don't want a kid. It's way better than having a kid and not being able to take care of it right.
But I
you
mean,
know?
like people like you who just are like, I can't wait to have kids. That's to me,
Well-
that's kind of an animal instinct, man. Maybe
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
a little
yeah.
more connected to the world than I am in that sense, because you want to procreate, you want to perpetuate your species. There's a drive for it. Every animal has it.
And to raise them and teach. Like I always think, you know, if I have kids, you know, I can't wait to like teach them how to do stuff and like take them to the park and like do like archery and
The
riding
first arm
bikes.
bar.
Yeah, and jujitsu. Oh my God! Like I'm afraid of how much I would like that, because then I probably wouldn't be doing other things.
I've had
I don't know.
vivid dreams about having
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Like really vivid ones that I still remember. A little girl competing in a jiu-jitsu tournament, and I was yelling at her, and
Yeah.
I know my wife's standing behind me, and I hear somebody talking to her, and he says to her, he's too hard on her, and she starts laughing. She says, you should hear her scream at him when he's rolling.
It's crazy that you dreamed up such an elaborate
Well,
dialogue.
I'd probably watched a movie, but I have some really vivid dreams, dude. Some of the ones I had about the Lakota are horrible. Like I woke up depressed for weeks.
Yeah.
Like it just affected me it was so real in the dream. Like I absorbed that sadness from that book even more.
Well,
And like I carried that shit for a few weeks.
the dreams and what's going on there is one of the most fascinating things to me. So we should do a show on that. But
dreams and what they mean.
yeah, what the purpose of
I've
them
had
is.
some wild ones I'll throw out there.
So, but anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thank you, Freddie, you made a lot of valuable, wise comments that
Yeah, we should have you
Those
back,
are the
dude,
only
because
kind I
I
have.
think Freddie's second show would be better than his first show. It would be
it's just
even
gonna
more.
keep getting better.
Like with
dude.
Donald's second show was better than his first show. Like,
yeah, he loosened up.
yeah, I feel better about it now when we come in. I used to be nervous about, like, I don't know what we're going to talk about, if I won't know what we're talking about. But I'm
Yeah.
almost like, when something comes up that I don't know what we're talking about, I'm almost happier because I'm like, I'm about to learn a lot of shit.
Yeah,
And
Well,
I'm
I
probably
learned a
going
fuckload of shit today,
and I'm
I'll
probably
tell you
going to
what.
go home and start reading stuff that we talked about today that I didn't know
and
about.
you can start fresh with building your opinion on that thing. You can start from ground zero and be like, all right, I know nothing. I have no opinion on this. What sucks is that so many of us in this country align with one of these two political ideologies. So when we hear the new thing that we've never heard of before, we just do a quick calculation of, you know, where does Donald Trump or where does Bernie Sanders stand on that, and that's where I'm going to go because I'm with that guy.
Right.
So that's the poison of ideology, which robs the sovereignty of
I'm
your
getting
intellect.
better at not doing that, man.
I hope I
there's
am.
some times where I'm like, I jump on the train real quick, and then I'm like, let me get off real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the train. I'm gonna get off at the next stop and take a look at the map, and find out if this is the track I want to be on, because I'm not sure that you're right.
That's why I think this show has value, man, because how often does that happen? I mean, people don't change their mind very often. Mark is right about that, but he's wrong when he makes these cynical posts saying, blah, 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 political blah, 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 my opinion, blah, never changes anything. No one ever changes their opinion because of this shit, so it's all pointless. And I'm like, first of all, let's ignore the blatant hypocrisy of you posting that, because you're still trying to convince us of something, and you just said that that's not possible on the internet and social media. And then secondly, I was like, hey Mark, do a poll of your friends and ask them how many of them have ever changed their opinion because of something they read on social media. I said, I know I have, and I can name 5 cases right now. Now, a lot of people probably will say no. A lot of people will probably joke around and not answer the question honestly, especially on his page. But a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, I found this thing about vaccines, or I found this thing about a political guy I was following and I didn't like it. I found out that Hillary was funded by big banks. I thought she was really cool, and then I found this. I think you're going to find a lot of that, bro. I was like, I said, you know, and it was mean of me. I'm kind of cutting deep on Mark here, but I'm like, if you find that you've never changed any opinions because of something you've read on social media, maybe you gotta think about that and why that is, dude. You know, so Mark, if you listen to this episode, that's my message to you and my question to you. And I might be totally wrong, and you might be right. So we'll work it out some other time. But Hope you get better, Mark.
Yeah, I
and,
hope you feel a lot better, dude.
Freddie, you're the man. Loved having you.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. You
And,
guys very informational, you know what I mean?
All right. And
Had a great time.
we'll all hopefully be back to jiu-jitsu rolling with each other soon.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Me only momentarily.
Yeah, before your surgery.
Yeah.
A little bit's better than none, you know?
All right, guys, we're going to keep on trucking with this show. So thank you so much for listening, and do what you can to respond and comment and share. And I love you guys. Later.